Hi, everybody. Happy Monday night. Thank you all for joining us. Hey, Miss Cheekbones, how are you? I'm already on. I don't know if I caught you out there or not.
No, I am present and ready for duty.
Awesome. Well, hi, everybody. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We certainly do anticipate a fun night. I did get Miss Sonya, Miss Cheekbones, aka a chance to overlook some of the questions that came through from the type 2 diabetes board. But I thought before we started that, just Cheekbones, remind everybody a little bit about your background. You don't have to give a lot of information, but I've had some new subscribers to the channel recently. I'll just let everyone know who I am, and I'm going to give you a chance to introduce yourself. How's that sound?
Good deal.
Thank you, ma'am. So my name's Ray, otherwise known as Life and Vibe. I'm a registered nurse here in the United States. I am licensed here. I've been practicing probably close to 15 years now, and I specialize in cardiac, heart, cancer, long-term care, end-of-life care, all the good, obviously patients with diabetes. And tonight's focus of the conversation is going to be finishing up the part 2 of the remaining diabetes type 2 questions we had regarding Miss Foodie Beauty herself. And specifically around this time, Ramadan has started today. She is talking about fasting. So we've got some I'm very curious to hear about Cheekbones' thought on that tonight. And so I'm going to pass it over to you, Cheekbones, so you can introduce yourself to the audience.
My name is Sonya. I'm a registered dietitian, have been for going on 17 years. Went back to school as an older student, and because it was something I always wanted to do. Love nutrition. I have worked in all fields like Miss Ray. I've done oncology, cardiac, dialysis, dietitian, acute care, long-term care, skilled, you name it, clinical is. And I've also done some, I guess really the last few years have been more weight loss than anything, and diabetes education.
Excellent. Well, I think that's going to be so beneficial for our audience this evening. And if you do like this type of content, don't forget to hit the likes, subscribe if you haven't had a chance yet. That will give you a chance, I think, to enter into the chat. I can't remember my Nightbot half the time. And just, obviously, participate. Obviously, no hatred of bullying in the chat, which we don't tend to have. And obviously, we're here to discuss things regarding, good medical care, since we all know it's often very difficult to access a lot of info. Well, there's so much information out there, but I think it's hard sometimes for people to discern what is good, legitimate information and what is just other types of information. And I think I've started to notice, and I don't know if you've noticed watching other content in the community, there's been a better understanding of Chantel's unmanaged type 2 diabetes and some of the illnesses that she's potentially starting to potentially have risks for as she goes ahead. What are your thoughts and feelings about her and how she's currently looking, before we get into and just take a peek, see at this grocery haul real quick, and then we're going to get into the questions we had from the audience, from that community tab.
She's not been looking well the last several times that I've seen her lives or recorded content. And the thing about Chantal is that it's not just her diabetes, because we know she has high blood pressure. We know she has liver disease. She has some form of kidney disease. So, she is just a hodgepodge of comorbidities. So it's terrifying to me. And I feel like she kind of just slights her diabetes. And I think it sends a bad signal to people out there. I can eat like this and have a blood sugar of 13.
Right. And what do you think about, talking about that before we sort of head into it? There's been some discussion in the community as to whether or not she's showing the numbers legitimately on the screen, whether she's kind of partially hiding them. I was kind of surprised because, and what are your thoughts about this? Because I know you have worked with diabetic patients and how she did a very performative, I felt, blood sugar very close after she just ate her pizza. So that to me would not be a very good time to take a blood sugar. When would be the time with somebody to take their blood sugar? Because there's a lot of people don't take it properly if they are being told to take it maybe at meals.
Yeah, it's 2 hours after she eats would be when she would have needed to take her blood sugar. Her glucometer is broke. Now, I think that one reading she took, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it said, was it 13.3? And some people thought it was reading 19.3. Regardless.
Right.
It's so high, and she just was like not concerned at all. But I don't think she's doing it on a regular basis. I don't feel like she's taking her medication on a regular basis, because any of us that have been here for a big hot minute know she never does what she's supposed to when it comes to medications. Yeah, 2 hours after she ate, not right after she ate.
Right. I think I said something about that after she ate too. I did say too, in order to see any type of insulin resistance, which is where she's probably sitting at, she would have needed to have waited 2 hours after that pizza. So, and it was still extremely high. So, I mean, it didn't really show anything to anybody. And I think that's what we need to clarify, because I don't think people really understand that that doesn't say anything about her blood sugar.
No, I mean it's astronomical, and her, it was 8 one time. I'm like, that's still not good.
Right.
Yeah,
And people, right. I think that's what people. So, what do you think her blood sugar would have been 2 hours after that pizza? Because I think I want to say she had ate those 2 subs that she said one half was for Salau and the other was supposed to be for her. And then she proceeded to eat both halves or both subs.
correct.
And then
And,
she
and
ate the
it's
pizza.
hard to gauge with her because her hours, she sleeps all day and then is up at night. And there was some speculation that she had ordered all of it at once. Was it at 1 hour apart? I mean, I really, you just get dazed and confused when it comes to her. But there's no telling. I mean, I would suspect they were in the upper 200 blood sugar levels minimum.
Right. And I think she was sitting around that right after she ate the pizza when she took those first ones. So I'm like thinking, God, what is she going to be 2 hours after this?
And I don't, if she is taking her medication, when is she taking it? I don't know either. She may take it on occasion to lower the sugars if she's going to take a reading. Could be.
Right. And I there's a lot of discussion around her taking, obviously, and I think we spoke about this last time, her taking the medications incorrectly, maybe higher doses, and thinking that is controlling and managing her blood sugars, when in realities that's not the case. It's not helping her anywhere with her blood sugars at this time.
No, she's not managing her blood sugars. She is not.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So thinking about that, and before we go into this grocery haul, and Chantel is preparing for Ramadan. Now, obviously, we're not experts. Well, at least I'm not, and I don't know about yourself, Sonya, but I don't know whether you're an expert on Ramadan, but you may be more understanding of fasting. And so I understand in that part of the globe, Chantal would be expected to fast for 14 hours. And diabetics are excluded from having to participate because it is understood that they are medically, of all the, like, they have the elderly, they have like babies, like little children, certain people with illness and diabetics. So why is it so important? And is Chantel correct in thinking that this intermittent fasting is going to be the cure-all to all her health problems currently?
My best advice to her is that I would not be doing the fasting, but a complication that she's going to have is when your blood sugars are at or over 9, you run the risk of dehydration because that excess glucose pulls fluid, or your body, it's trying to flush the extra glucose out. So you can become dehydrated very quickly if your blood sugars are at that level. So if she's not, dehydration to me would be a bigger risk for her than, say hyperglycemia,
Wow.
because her sugars are, on up there.
Right, and dehydration can be extremely dangerous. I don't think that people realize that dehydration can lead to irregular heart rhythms and lead to tachycardias and lowering of blood pressures and a number of different vasomotor changes in the body that can be actually quite dangerous to people. And I don't know, and like I said, I'm not an expert around Ramadan, and I don't know if they are allowed to have water throughout the day, and that is the one thing they are permitted to
Yeah.
have.
I hate to say I'm not an expert on the Ramadan, but Angel of Glass is correct that acute kidney failure. She's
Right.
already got some form of kidney disease, and that dehydration can
God.
push her on over, into the acute renal failure.
Oh god. And of course, my cardiac background, I'm always gonna start thinking, how does it affect the heart, because and I've so and of course, those kidneys. I don't think her kidneys I mean, I have noticed recently, and I think I just want to do like a ring watch, as I call it. And I don't know if the ring came off initially because she argued with Salah, and that's irregardless. But I just don't know. She's so swollen now that ring has started to really cut into her finger because she looks so swollen. And her skin has started to get an orange peel consistency to it.
Mhm.
She does not look good. Do you know any reason why she may be kind of starting just to look so flushed? I mean, I know we've talked about the rosacea. I've talked about lupus potentially. I mean, we saw
Well, there
that marks. It's just,
Well, the skin health with diabetes, there's several, things that diabetes will show up on the skin, and diabetic dermopathy, red, browny patches on the skin, that may be, what is showing on her face. It could be a bacterial infection. You run a high risk of dry and itchy skin with diabetes.
oh God.
So, and
We talked yesterday, not to interrupt you, sorry, about that CPAP potentially not being properly cleaned by Chantel
uh,
yesterday to a point where I was so grossed out.
my husband wears one. God bless his
Okay.
soul. And I can tell you, I mean, I know how he cleans that thing. Soaks it in the vinegar water, runs the ozone thing on it. Have never heard her talk about cleaning that CPAP. If she has,
Neither.
I've not heard her say it.
I don't think I have either.
So,
And
I
that
mean,
to me is concerning for respiratory infection. And all
correct.
that shisha she's smoking. Gosh.
That's not helping. It's not helping.
Oh gosh. So do you think in all reality, and then we'll look at this grocery haul real fast, is fasting a good plan for her at this time? Would that be advisable for Chantel at this moment in time? Is that something that we could advise her to do if she were your patient?
Well, we're talking about Chantal here. Like I
Right.
said, my concern on my as a registered dietitian my first concern would be the dehydration. With the medication that she's on, there's really not a risk of say if she's fasting and taking her medication of becoming hypoglycemic, like if she was on insulin. But no matter what she says, she's not going, her fasting is her sleeping. That's her night time. That's when she's fasting, is when she's asleep. And I think she's kind of, over the past few weeks, has changed her schedule, as we have seen that, she sleeps all day and then is up and eats all night. So I think she's just modified her lifestyle to fit Ramadan fasting. Not like people that work day jobs and they're, being, doing the fasting because of their religious beliefs. She's just altering her lifestyle to do the fasting. It's hard to say if it would be, I don't think it would be that bad for her, but she's got so much going on. It's hard, with the kidneys and then the, heart disease and high blood pressure and all of that. But I don't think it would be as bad for her as to say a type 1 diabetic or somebody that was insulin dependent.
Right. Right. And we don't even know if Chantel needs to be insulin dependent at this point, because she's.
I'll bet my last $5 on a grumbling stomach that woman needs to be on insulin.
Right.
I have no doubt, but she's not. So
right. She's currently not, but that's another reason why it would potentially be not advisable, because she's not really getting follow-up and care through a healthcare professional who's going to make sure that she's doing this safely and not doing anything that could potentially. And for me, I concern about her and the diabetes and becoming more of a night creature. I know that's going to happen probably for Ramadan, but just because I know that there are some studies that show the link between that and an increased risk in type 2 diabetes, kind of the night shift people, And then she has less time getting outside, which she doesn't do anyway, but she's not even getting enough vitamin D, I don't think. So that is just another issue for me. And it's just, I just don't think that she's really, she talks about it, but whether she, you never see the bottle of vitamin D in her hand, like, oh, I've got this brand and this is what I'm trying, which always makes me then doubt, is she really taking any of this stuff? Because if you were, then why do we never see a medication bottle? It would be so easy to show. You don't even have to show your label. You can show the back of it,
Yeah.
But we never see them.
Correct. I mean, that's somebody I saw, I don't know if it was at Yaba or somebody mentioned, her blood, is she on the blood thinners for her pulmonary embolisms? I don't know. Is she still taking your antidepressants? I don't know. And if she is, I'm not sure what she's taking.
Who would be prescribing and following her? I mean, that's what I think people don't understand. You just don't get meds like that. It's not like one time you went and you got prescribed and you've got a lifelong prescription.
Correct.
That's not, a lot of these drugs are obviously going to also potentially affect organs. And so you would be like, if she really is taking diflocanac, then she needs to be getting liver panels, because that drug is metabolized through the liver and quite tough on it, from what I understand from reading more about the drug. I've only ever used it topically on my knee.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, well, I hope it's not the sodium version, because you don't need extra salt.
There's, and you need to know her medications, just, is there some conflict with them? If it's antihypertensive, is that going to work well with the type of diabetic medication she's on?
I've never heard her mention one blood pressure medication ever.
No, I vaguely remember when she was having the migraines and she said, was talking about, oh, my blood pressure's so high. Oh, I can't eat salt and fried foods. And that lasted all of 5 hot minutes. I cannot remember if she said they gave her any medication for her high blood pressure.
Right. But that prescription would be long gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Long gone by now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not, like I said, not everything over the counter in Canada. I'm sure they still need to have, unless she filled up on prescriptions when she went back home. But doesn't sound like it to me. It sounds like she had nothing and she was trying to get stuff through an emergency room. That's what it seems like to me. And she didn't even stay around for that because she wouldn't get what she wanted. So she bailed out on her test. But anyway, all right. All right. Let me see if I can bring up Chantel and still manage. I got a new, and thank you everybody for being here. I'm sorry if I'm not saying hi. I do see all of you in the chat chatting away, and I'm looking through it. So thank you all for being here. If you haven't had a chance to like this content, then please do so. And just to remind everybody, this is just for educational and informational purposes only. Miss Sonya and I are just having a nice conversation because we just want to make sure that there's been so many questions about her and fasting and so forth. And so we're just having a conversation specifically around this particular content creator. This is not any medical advice for Chantel, and we are not part of her treatment team. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
Correct. All right. Let me see if I can share screen. Because like I said, I got a new modem the other day. So I got all big.
Ooh,
I know.
Modem.
I did. It was a great deal at Walmart. Here she is. So I skipped Salau's singing and everything else because I could not.
I got for this stock up haul. All right, so let's go. All right, so this is round one of this haul. It's going to be a lot of stuff, and I'm not looking forward to organizing it and putting it away, but that's a big job I have to do before Ramadan. So yes, we have a couple cases of water here at the back. Those blue cases are water. Here we have some long shelf life full fat milk. Really good for making Arabic desserts like mahalabia, which is like a milk pudding, and rice pudding with some eggs. They had a huge sale on the vegetables, so I got a bunch of kilos of eggplant because I plan on making.
I should have asked the question in the poll. I asked a question in the poll about, if you haven't had an opportunity to check the poll out, there's a poll about those suspicious weed looking pistachio nut nuggets that about Chantel, whether or not that plate of nut nuggets is going to be just a couple eaten by her. And then she's fully aware she's got diabetes type 2, so she's not going to touch a nugget or nougat or whatever. I think it's nougat. That's it. And then we have the other answer is just a few, but she's going to share the rest with guests.
Yeah. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, because we know she got guests. And then the last the answer was just no bloody. She's just going to eat the entire bloody plate alone. She always likes to say she's got gas. So anyway, that's the poll if you want to participate. It's free to participate. Anyway, Rocky over here has a question, and then we'll have your first thoughts on that grocery haul. Good evening from Miami, ladies. From your perception, do you think Chantel fully understands the ramification? Every time I laugh, I'm sorry. Because we know what the answer to this is. The ramifications of what she's doing to herself, or do you think she's just straight given up on life? Sonya, your thoughts?
I think that she has had to have some cold, hard truths told to her by medical professionals about, the ramifications of ignoring these serious health conditions. I don't know if she just thinks she's 10 foot tall and bulletproof, or if, and she has said, I had rather be happy stuffing my face and die young than be miserable and eat healthy and live to an old age. I think she knows, but I think she thinks I've made it this far. I can keep it going. She hasn't had anything really serious happen to her. And to a lot of people, that's your wake-up call.
And that always surprises me, Cheekbones, because I would think anybody who's been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which leads to organ failure, has had 2 pulmonary embolisms, a hysterectomy, gallbladder removal, diagnosis of the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and C. diff, I think, has been in there, the blood pressure, potentially enlarged heart, that is surprising, I think, to most of us. That would not be the wake-up call.
I think to some extent for all of us that all this damage is inside. She can't see it. So, if it's hidden and she doesn't see, it's not like if you've got a big gash on your arm and it gets infected, you can see it. Oh my gosh, it's infected. It's going to fall off. She can't see the damage. And I think she has felt so bad for so long. It's her normal.
Right. Right. Because she just get any exercise. I mean, it's so bad. That to me is like
Yeah,
the
she's a
worst part.
cockroach. I agree with Rita. She is. I mean, but every dog has its day, and it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be one of these little simple things that happen. I think it's going to be something catastrophic that
Right.
when
And that
it
was,
hits.
yeah. And not to interrupt you, but I don't know if you watched her the other day. And this is what Rose Thorn React says. And then I'll give you my thoughts on something. And then you let me know your thoughts and then the thoughts on the grocery haul. I think she's given up on everything. She said she doesn't like change. And what's needed for her is a complete lifestyle change. I know her glow up, that 6-pack that she was talking about getting the other day. I almost killed myself when she talked about getting a 6-pack. And the way she talks about weight loss surgery, as if she's just gonna kind of just walk into a clinic and get weight loss surgery. She would have to go to somewhere in Turkey or somewhere for something like that, because any legitimate bariatric surgeon would never allow a patient without any counseling, preparation. I mean, it's a big thing to get weight loss surgery. It's really not something that like one day you're in the doctor's office and 2 weeks later you're on a table getting a sleeve.
Well, her health is just so bad. Even if she did the therapy and went, through all the hoops and was approved, it's just her state of health. She is not somebody I would want to be doing surgery on.
Right. She would have to pass, at least here in the United States, and I'm sure it's the same in Canada and many other countries, that you would have to give her a cardio catheterization test, just to make sure she was clear on the whole arteries before you put her under any type of real anesthesia. Because it would be dangerous, I think, at this point.
With her liver the size that it is, can you imagine trying to do some kind of laparoscopic surgery with that organ being 4 or 5 times the size it's supposed to? I mean, there's just so much.
Right. And that was something that we brought up again last night. And then let me know about this, what you think about this food. That they MRIs may not be a sufficient size for her to have been diagnosed with sciatica, So where is she going to get all this like testing done? Because she may not fit the average size equipment.
Well, I do know they make the open MRIs for larger people, and face it, and I'm just speaking on the US.
Right.
So much of our society is obese that look, this, right? How many hospital rooms have been modified to fit bariatric beds in?
Oh, absolutely. But I wonder, in a place like Kuwait, even though she says the people are larger, I wonder how readily available is that for her? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
it's a specialty sort of look, So yeah. All right. What do you think to her grocery haul? I mean, this looks great. I wonder where's this vegetable now? What state and condition is it in?
Well, we've not seen her cook any of it, so I don't know. Maybe Howie's having a nice, healthy dinner of fruit and veg.
You got to be careful. Those carrots have a lot of sugar.
Oh yes, I forgot. I don't know. There was a lot of talk in the community about this being from some type of food bank or subsidized grocer. And, if that's true, I just think, that's really disgusting
for them.
if it's true, I'm just saying, but the evidence from what I've seen is pretty strong to that effect.
And that's
Um,
what I think I've heard too. And that would give a better understanding as to why the groceries are so cheap and how she doesn't really know how much they are.
mhm.
It's because they're subsidized, and here she is getting subsidized groceries. She wastes a heck of a lot of it, and then she turns around and buys takeout. So if she was at least donating it on to Salal's family or something, I would at least feel, or somebody, I would feel at least like, wow, at least they move. But she just lets it go to waste in the fridge.
Yeah, I feel like
Right.
if she was giving it to neighbors or family or friends, that she would be, shouting that from the mountaintop. Oh, look what I did! I gave it away. I'm such a nice person. And this is just totally my opinion. I think she has some form of like food hoarding. That if she has a lot of this food around her, even though she's not going to eat it, it's not stuff she would eat. It somehow makes her feel safe. Like when you see the show Hoarders and they have all the stuff around them. But I think she has some kind of food hoarding
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that's, I'm not, I'm not in the psychology department, but I can't understand why would you even want to clean this rotten stuff out of your refrigerator?
And that makes sense too. And the fact that she's kept pots and pans for extended periods of time in her kitchen dirty. And she's talked about her childhood being a welfare girl. So it
Yeah.
makes sense that she, and this again, we're just making speculations here. But I could speculate as a healthcare professional that seeing that refrigerator and how much food was kind of stuffed in there and so forth, it
Mm-hmm.
definitely reminds me of, anecdotally, my own grandmother who grew up in the Depression era and had
Mm-hmm.
a horrible food hoarding habit. I mean, just hoarded everything in the free. I mean, just didn't let it, kept rotted food, So it just is very reminiscent to me of that behavior from my grandmother. And it just, I'm sure there is some interesting psychology behind her feeling deprived of food potentially as a child. But her mother also using foods as treats because she talks about her mum still getting her an Easter basket.
Yeah. Well, I can't say much about that. My parents did that for me up until they passed away. So,
Oh,
the Easter cards and Valentine's cards. So, I can't say much. It was
well,
like
that's
a
a Southern
$5 bill
thing,
though.
though.
They didn't give me no food. It was like a $5 bill. But
Oh yeah, no, that's a Southern thing. My
yeah.
I always got my family always sent me cards and stuff. There was nothing, but they always remembered the holidays. There might be a little thought in there, but it was nothing big. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Okay, so it's a shame. I've said actually that she should have had somebody come in that's a chef in that area and show her how to make dishes that are local dishes that could be frozen or kept, and actually do some interesting content with these fresh vegetables and make all these foods and make sure that they're not filled with salt and sodium. But I don't know if you saw the other day, after she got this grocery haul, and I think she burnt some rice pudding and made a
Mm-hmm.
really sad
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
looking breakfast and a very sad looking oatmeal that looked very
Uh,
crusty. And after that, she declared she did not understand how people could make homemade food.
Yeah, she scorched that pudding. I see a lot of people in the chat putting it, and I agree with them. She was not a welfare girl. Now, when she was a baby, her mother probably received some kind of assistance being a young single mother, but her mom remarried when she was 5 or 6. And when you have, and she says, this is her words, grandparents on both sides that spoiled her, um, I don't think she ever wanted for anything. And spoiled her with, I feel like, anything she wanted. She just mainly wanted food. So, kind of trying to strike herself as this, poor pitiful Pearl. I was on the welfare and they made fun of me in high school. No, no, no. Your mom was remarried when she was 5 or 6. So I don't think she had any food scarcity. I don't think that was ever in her life.
Right, and I'm sure some of the Canadians would attest to probably there being probably pretty good systems of support for Chantel having a young mum, especially around that time. Chantel is not that old, you know. She's not. You know, my mother's generation here in Virginia was a lot different in the 60s and 70s than Chantel's mum probably in the 80s and 90s in Canada.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, Team Psych Ward makes a good point here. And I have said this now, you know, this is just my unofficial thing. I do not believe she has a binge eating disorder. I don't think she does. I mean, I've seen it in my practice. I think she has some type of impulse control disorder. That's just my little registered dietitian Freudian spin on it. I don't think she has binge eating disorder.
Right. And I've wondered about that too, because there's other sort of behaviors that go along with that disorder that she doesn't seem to. Because a lot of times I want to say that, and I don't know with these new people online who make money, but a lot of times, I've, you know, other psychiatrists, you know, people have pointed out, and this, you know, these are why psychiatry is such an interesting debate. And Cheekbones and I, Sonya and I, are not psychiatrists. We're just speculating here, but we are in the healthcare or field. In the respect that I always wonder if, you know, these types of personalities that do this, you know, online, it's usually binge eating has got a little bit of shame. I want to say they kind of hide it. I want to say, you know, it's not like something you'd want to like show the world, you know. So that's why it just sort of, it's so strange to me that it's so public to have see people eat such huge amounts of food. And I just heard a very interesting study today. I love my doctor's radio about ultra processed food and about the younger you get it in age, the more harm it's gonna, you know, give you over time. Just like anything with a lot of ingredients.
Right.
You know, so all these like nutritional supplements and all these extra Quest bars and stuff, they're terrible. Wouldn't you say that this stuff that we're looking at is actually probably pretty good?
Yes, I agree. What most of what we're looking at in her haul is very good.
Right. And that's what's such a shame is like she is gonna do we haven't even seen Howie with the carrot. Okay, let's finish this grocery haul, then we'll get over to our question.
A lot of marinated eggplant and baba ganoush. Always just have an extra jar of pasta sauce on hand. Have some lemons, a couple kilos of lemon, because that's important too with salads and making grape leaves. Which, by the way, a huge staple drink for Ramadan. Muslims will know, or Arabs will know as well. Vimto is huge. It's a drink syrup. I'll have to put what it's made of. It's like you add water.
You know what it's made of, Chantel? Because I grew up in England. Sugar.
Sugar.
God. I grew up in the UK and I grew up on squash and cordials and all that stuff, you know? And it's just a very, you know, it's just how people used to flavor water in England. Very simple, you know, simple way to make flavored drinks. Very, you know, was especially orange squash was very popular, but it was just orange sugar water.
Yeah, anything syrup. there's your sign.
Right. And then the other day, I'm sure you saw she was drinking. I'm sure this really, I'm sure you love this as a registered dietitian, having worked with patients with diabetes, especially type 2 unmanaged like Chantel. The fruit juice straight from the bottle, especially cranberry, I think it was too, which is very high in sugar.
All that juice is for her. It's not for Salah. You know, I don't know. Maybe he gets to have a glass of it, but
after she's been swinging it directly from the bottle, you think? That
Oh,
always is a
yeah.
hallmark sign of a living aloner to me. As you swig that juice from the bottle.
Look, I don't drink after my husband, so yeah, it's for her. I had no doubt at any time, and did not surprise me at all when she was chugging it. It's just I think when she do the mukbangs and have her big fish bowl glass up there it's just for show. Any other time, if the camera wasn't on, she is chugging it out of the container. So didn't
Right.
surprise me.
Right. And here she's got this meat sitting out here. For how long? I have no idea.
No, don't know.
Remember, it's come from probably a store or wherever they sell out, picked it up in the middle of the night. Very odd. That's what's so it's like, really in the middle of the night, like this grocery haul? Just very odd. And it's obviously it's a lot of food in this. I mean, because obviously it's a celebration for this very special holy month that's just started today. So I'm not surprised they've been, gifted with, these very lean looking beef cuts. But why is it out of the fridge?
I I don't know. Look, I'm real anal about food safety. I mean, it's part of my education, and I was a director over our kitchen at our local hospital, and that's just drilled in you. So there's no telling how long it's been sitting out. But she ate porch food, so she just don't care. I mean, she ate that, what was it, Indian food or something that sat out on the porch all night. So
Well, she just said the other day that her stomach was upset. I don't know if you heard that from her live yesterday at all. And that's why she kept getting up to go to the restroom the other day.
Was that the day after the hoagies and pizza?
Yes. So why do you think potentially? Because, from what I understand, there isn't really a specific diet recommended for people after they've had their gallbladder removed because they're going to eat whatever anyway.
Well, it could be a number of things with Chantal. It could be food poisoning. It could be her.
Well, we see this beef's been left out.
Yeah, it could be her diabetic meds, or it could just be the diabetes itself, because you do have those digestive issues. It can be constipation or diarrhea. It's just close your eyes and throw a dart. You'll hit probably an answer why.
Well, she said she had stomach flu. So when
she-
anyone ever says stomach flu, I'm like, oh, did you throw up?
There's so many cases of undiagnosed food poisoning. That could be what it is. But she said, "Oh, it's my ibuprofen." And again, I have doubts as to if she's taking anything at all. I mean, we always have to refer to rule number 1.
Right.
Yeah, right. Fancy cooks. Yeah.
And that's what's so funny is it's like, girl, you should not be taking any type of NSAID unless the doctor's prescribed you 81 milligram aspirin. I mean, really. Because I don't think any doctor, knowing her history of comorbidities, would be prescribing her an NSAID because they can cause a gastric bleed in a patient, and you don't know which one is going to be more susceptible to that. So it's usually better to just, for patients like Chantel, I would think a good rule of thumb, unless it was absolutely necessary, would be to kind of steer clear of the NSAIDs.
Yeah, Joanna brought up a point, about stomach ulcers. I had a history with a super morbidly obese client in acute care and long-term care setting, and they scoped his stomach. And when they did, the number of ulcers in his stomach was, I was gobsmacked. So I don't doubt she doesn't have, I don't know if it's H. pylori, but I think it's just from the stretching. You put so much food in it, but that could quite be that she does have stomach ulcers.
Right. And we talked about gastroenteritis yesterday, potentially. And then, I mean, I know H. pyloric, that particular sort of, especially is very predominant in Asian regions of the world can have that particular, um, uh, like propensity. So I don't know if she's maybe traveled to Thailand and got anything.
Yeah.
When she was eating shrimp off the street live.
I'd have been more worried about running through that water, would have been with
Oh,
them little diabetic tootsies barefooted. That would have
oh.
been my main concern in Thailand.
God. And we know in reality that her feet and her legs, I'm sure they're horrific looking, really. And she does not probably have a mirror and stand there and check her feet and do anything that she needs to do.
Nope.
And I think, and that is so important. And I am surprised that something more catastrophic hasn't yet occurred, but she is becoming very sedentary in that home currently.
Yes.
She's not been getting out. And last time she went out and she tripped and fell, she winced. I know people thought she'd laugh, but I thought she kind of winced because it was painful. And then she's like, well, I can feel my feet. And I'm like, oh, that's not quite how it works, girl.
Yeah. I agree. I just think she, and you probably have seen this just in your clinical practice. You have those patients that will have, little things happen along the way, and then they'll have a wake up call. But the majority of mine that are similar in health to Chantal, it's that just catastrophic thing that happens. And sadly to say, it's usually a stroke that will leave her.
Or a heart attack.
Yeah, bedbound. If it doesn't take her on out, it'll leave her, bedbound.
And I have a theory that I think she wants to be bedbound. I almost think and I know, but I feel that she glamorizes this idea of being weighted on hand and foot because of the way she describes, oh, Salal does everything for me. He just does everything. And, there's sort of like, I don't have to do anything. And, I'm thinking, girl, you don't even cook the food for this man with all this foods that you do nothing. You really just want to lay there and do nothing. And so the other day too, she had talked about how much her health was, she felt that people online, other creators were bullying her because of her becoming less able-bodied, and therefore she is now, not able-bodied, and therefore any sort of criticism of her health is now insulting a disabled person. Did you hear that?
No.
Oh, yes.
No.
That's what she's pretty much saying now. So this is somebody who I am seeing has made lifestyle choices to become unhealthy and less able-bodied to the point where she is potentially going to have a catastrophic event such as a stroke or a heart attack or another pulmonary embolism or something of that nature. And PEs can't kill you. It's not. I mean, she's very lucky that she survived too.
Correct.
I don't think, it's just, and she does not look good. She's looking very sweaty lately.
Well, that's when you go to diabetes in your skin, your sweat glands are affected.
Oh, tell us more about that. Because she was really profusely sort of perspiring almost from the eyeballs yesterday. So much so her chat was saying, hey, you're really sweating. And she didn't even seem to notice it. So how does that? Because I'm always thinking, shoot, she looks like she's about to have a coronary. Because that's a surefire sign for a heart attack too.
Well, and here again, we could have a lot of causes, but just the diabetes effect on the skin, that, glucose, it damages the skin cells. and it affects the ability for somebody to be able to sweat. They may not, and it can go either, they may not be able to sweat very much, or they may have profuse sweating. It's kind of, it can go either way.
Right. Yeah, and she definitely was looking really peaky. So Billie Eilish said, she said something about she's depressed and calling her lazy is offensive. But I just think that she's kind of chosen this way. All right, let's finish out this video so we can get to the questions we had, because I know I gave you those ahead of time. Let's get going. I'm always fascinated too.
We have some pomegranate molasses beside the Vimto here. Pomegranate molasses. The pomegranate molasses, you use them in like salad vinaigrettes, and to make the warak inab, which is grape leaves. Speaking of which, I have a jar of grape leaves. I'm going to try making my own this year. Some cocoa powder for overnight oats for healthy breakfast for suhoor, which is the meal before we start fasting. Some chili garlic sauce. Some beef cubes. Okay.
Been out of the fridge too long.
Bunch of kilos of carrots. Harry, my hamster, loves a little bit of these. Got to be careful. They have a lot of sugar. But I love carrots too. So we have some potatoes, a few kilos of potatoes. Yes, they're dirty, but they can be washed. We have some oranges, a couple kilos of oranges. Now, each kilo is 75 cents of these vegetables. Very cheap. We have some Calrose rice, medium grain rice.
On here.
We have some bananas. We have some
looks beautiful
parsley, cucumber. The tomatoes were on sale also. So I got 2 kilos of those.
I don't think we've seen it with one big salad even covered with cheese and dressing yet. She is getting even less making stuff in the kitchen recently. Wouldn't you say she's been eating more takeout recently? Even with all this, why she's bought a bunch of food recently.
Well, you know what?
All those potatoes and stuff too, and rice the other day.
Well, this grocery haul was for Ramadan, and not everything, but there were some things that are, you know, it doesn't have a very long shelf life. I don't know why she bought it so far out for cooking for Ramadan. I would have thought she would have bought it like a day or two before, like yesterday maybe, because probably half of this stuff is already, you know, well on its way out. So
right. How long would you say this fruit and veg? Just because you did say that you kept an eye on that. Because we've seen some manky looking fridge food come out, and she's used some old looking, you know, stuff. How long would most of this fruit and vegetable be safely kept? Some can be kept in the fridge. I know it degrades its flavors, but just on the whole, I mean, say, let's say for the salad, like the lettuce, tomatoes, cucumber, how long can we keep most of that safely before it starts to go bad and potentially could cause us harm?
You know, and I'm one of those by look kind of people. You know, it might last a week. You know, the inner part of it may last a little longer. It depends. You know, I wash all my fruit and veg. Your root vegetables obviously will stay longer. Cucumbers kind of go quickly. Tomatoes, I'm not a tomato eater. I think they're disgusting. So I don't know about the fresh tomatoes because I rarely buy them.
I keep mine in the fridge because I keep them outside of the fridge as long as I can for a couple of days, and I move them in the fridge. I tend to use, and what do you think about those little like carbon absorbers in the refrigerators? I tend to put those in use those types of containers to help try to hopefully keep my fridge a little fresher. Does that really work, or am I being conned?
Well, I think that's probably I don't know about the carbon. I'm a baking soda kind of gal, and that's just, you know, for
I have that too.
Yeah. But you know, I always wash my fruit and veg in either vinegar water or baking soda and water right when I get it home, and put it in the, you know, the storage containers that have like the little platform in them so they get air and they'll keep longer.
What's your concentration? Is it white vinegar to water? Because I've heard that sometimes those fruit and veggie cleaners are not necessarily great. So I would like to know how I could rinse off with vinegar. Because I
just do a bowl of ice water and just, like chug splash some white vinegar in there. And I don't know like an exact measurement, but I am totally infatuated with the Asian community, and that's where how they do their fruit and veg, because they're big fruit and veg eaters. But they would do either the vinegar, like my berries and stuff, I'll do a little vinegar water, put ice in it, let them soak for about 10-15 minutes, take them out, rinse them, and I think they keep longer doing that.
Oh. That's interesting. And that would be a good recommendation for Chantel, because we know she likes a pickle.
She only know pickles.
No, but she liked any thing that would contain vinegar. It's a shame, because I can see what looks like a really nice looking salad there with that lettuce. And I mean, one of the things with the lettuce that I would always do is definitely I have a lettuce, spinner. And I always make sure when I got the lettuce home that I would always like get rid of the husk and get it into the spinner and just get it ready and kind of ready to go. Just get it done, So start making those salads real quick, just to get that lettuce ready.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, that's one of the things. All right, let's keep looking at this little grocery haul. It looks great. I mean, I don't know about all this pasta again. Again, it's portion control, isn't it?
Correct.
So it's not necessarily that this is, a diabetic can't have a little bit of pasta. It's just the portions that she eats are absolutely outrageous. And I was talking a little bit about having a starch at a meal. Now, Chantel tends to have 5 starches in a meal.
Correct. Her probably serving, allowed serving of a carbohydrate is, 1 spoonful she puts in her mouth. It's a lot smaller. And, as a dietitian, I always encourage my clients to look for healthier options, more whole grains or high fiber options. But, especially nowadays, money is, for groceries, groceries are so high. So sometimes you just have to eat what is there, what's available, what you can afford. So in that case, you can have, anything you want. It just has to be portioned out in your appropriate carbohydrates for that meal.
Right. Right. And is that something that would be set by somebody like yourself, a registered dietitian, or how would somebody who's a type 2 diabetic know exactly how many carbs? Because I think there really is a misunderstanding about that when I've spoken to my own patients who've been managing, adult onset type 2 diabetes.
It's always, it's, I would always suggest that you talk to a dietitian or a certified diabetes educator. And I'm not trying to bash on doctors, but they're not, many of them are not well versed, in this, eat a handful of rice. You need, with her numbers, something a little higher. And, and I like to meet with them. What's their goal? Is it weight loss? Is it just managing their sugars and that kind of thing? But when I come up with like a daily caloric aim for my client, just kind of a general rule of thumb is somewhere, I don't say 26 to 30% of your daily calories be carbohydrates, and then set those up per, do you eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, or do you just eat lunch, dinner, and a snack? Kind of distribute them through their schedule of eating.
Right. Right. And the food that Chantel chooses to eat, that's like ultra processed food, is like oh my gosh, the way they described it is like food, something that's an industrially processed derived from a food source or something like that. I was like, oh God, sounds great, and she much prefers that to if she made a salad, obviously we know it'd be obliterated with cheese and salad dressing. And I have to say, when I worked at the rehab and met with patients, I would say, look, I finally got one who was a type 1 diabetic, and she had a heart attack. I think it was a heart attack. Yeah, she's had an InSTEMI, and she was in her early 40s with a young child, and it was because she just did not manage her diabetes well and did not eat well. And she started to even get diabetic retinopathy to the point one of her eyes was blind partially. And so I finally begged her, and I said, because her blood sugars were just up and down, and I just said, you have got to get your doctor to refer you to a registered dietitian. I said, there's no way that insurance is going to refuse you.
Yeah.
I said, not one, because you are the patient that is most needing to be there. And I think that is one of the things that I think anybody who is a type 2 diabetic recently diagnosed, either to get into one of the programs at the local healthcare centers, have the diabetes educators, and don't just brush it off and think the medication's got everything. Because I think I really just think that, I mean, I'd rather people not get it, to be honest, but I do think that patients should start to ask and advocate to get that referral to at least meet a couple of times with a registered dietitian. I think people are scared it's going to take their foods that they like away from them.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think a lot of physicians, and I hate to be so hard on them, but I'm just speaking from personal experiences, be it from diabetes or high cholesterol or high blood pressure, when they come in to see their doctor and their numbers are up, the doctor just increases their medication. Not
right.
Getting to why is it, how much sodium are you taking in? How much high fat, high cholesterol foods are you eating? Well, how many carbohydrates are you eating? Because it can be, managed, a lot of these illnesses with your diet, but physicians just will slap up their medication, oh, we're going to increase it because your numbers are getting up. Well, like I said before, it's like putting a Band-Aid over an amputation. It's going to catch up. The damage is still being done, and either from higher doses of medication or bad diet or both.
Right. And then multiple diabetes medications managing the diabetic, because they're not just on one. They're on multiple different diabetes medications, especially with all these new ones coming out. They're always on metformin and Janumet, which is the one she talked about. Or, they might be on metformin and, they might be having a prescription to Ozempic or just a variety of different, medications. And then once you start to see that they're on, the long acting at night, then they're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
absolutely. And I do wish, so far as the states, that they would have a mandatory nutrition class, at least in high school.
Right.
Teaching, because, the starts of heart disease are being seen in teenagers.
Oh, absolutely. And,
So, I really wish
believe
that that would be a mandatory class that students would have to take.
Right. And I want to say that probably back in the day that the curriculum did include, but I didn't have any sort of, I can probably see in my education in the UK, we didn't receive any type of, I think, education around nutrition at all. Nothing. I think you were supposed to, the ideas that you were taught in the home.
I mean, I'm Gen X, and we had home economics, but that was not nutrition focused.
Right. Exactly. It was like learn how to make a milkshake. I mean, that's not nutrition.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not saying that there aren't areas of the U.S. that they do, but I'm just speaking in my area of the South that,
Right.
that a nutrition class is, not, I've actually talked to the superintendent of our school district about doing one for the teenagers because, they're going through the McDonald's and that's what more parents are working, not very many parents cook. And so they just grab this, like you said, highly processed food and fast food. And you're just starting them down a bad path. If they knew what was happening or could potentially happen, I think that would stop a lot of the health problems and the burdens on the health care system that we see now.
Oh yeah, I do wonder because I feel like I used to take care of it when I worked as a nanny when I was at nursing school. Took care of a generation of children being fed Chick-fil-A like multiple times, like in the week. I swear, every night these kids were eating Chick-fil-A, especially down here in the South, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, the lines outside Chick-fil-A, and I always think to myself, that chicken brined and salt, people.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Let's keep going back so we can get on to these questions. Let's finish up this haul because we could talk about this forever. Oh my god.
Whole bunch of macaroni because Salah loves how I make my macaroni. Tomato macaroni. It's basically just tomato, butter, salt, and pepper, but he loves it. So the spices I needed, I got some sweet paprika and some onion powder. And these, each head of lettuce was also 75 cents. Look at the beautiful, huge head of lettuce. This is the biggest romaine I've ever seen. So, yeah. Going to be making a lot of salads also. So,
have you seen a
and
salad
my
yet?
hamster also loves lettuce. So, yeah. I make him a little salad every day with his kibble. So that is the first round. So I'll be back for round 2. All right, guys. So here's round 2. We have some cornstarch or corn flour. We have some white chocolate covered mamul cookies. They're so good. Another box. We have some feta cheese and vegetable samosas. My cat's playing with the grocery bags. We have some squares of cream cheese. They're kind of like Laughing Cow, just a different brand. These are my favorite. These chicken grillers are so cheap. Each chicken is like under $4 US and about $4 Canadian. And I love making gravies, stocks, anything with it. I love it. I have some frozen broccoli because broccoli is one of my favorite vegetables. I have some berry mix. I'm going to be doing some overnight oats to prepare some breakfast for suhoor, the meal we get to eat before we start fasting. As I've said, it's before Fajr, so we would eat around maybe close to 5 a.m., probably around 5 a.m. And then you're going to be fasting for the day until sundown. So, all right. And we have some vermicelli. There's an Arab style way of making rice. You kind of saute vermicelli until it gets browned. And then vermicelli is like a very small.
Is that just Arab style? I want to say I grew up on that type of rice blend here in the South.
It's just pasta.
Right. I want to say that's like there's what is that? Rice-a-roni.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I would not think rice-a-roni is a very good thing to eat.
No. Just put it in with your rice. That'll all.
Because there isn't like a rice-a-roni with the vermicelli and stuff in it. Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh. And you look at the ingredients on the little flavor packets that you have to add, and it's like a science experiment. It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Small, fine noodle. Okay. And then you add the rice, make like a rice mixed with the vermicelli. It's so delicious. Some chia seeds because I'm going to be adding them. They're very high in protein and soluble fiber, which is very good for your digestive tract. And they're very good if you're diabetic. The fiber.
What do you think to that? Comment, Cheekbones, about the chia seeds is now going to be the miracle to help Chantel with her diabetes.
Well, I agree. The soluble fiber is good, and it does have effect on your blood glucose. But having them in a big old bowl of oatmeal with fruit and probably maple syrup on it, I don't really see why.
You think it's defeated the purpose of the chia seed at
It,
that point?
yeah. I don't think that she's gonna drop her blood sugar to 5 with her chia seeds.
You don't think they're a miracle in a bag over here?
No, I think I've used them before, but I'm not diabetic. I try to eat a lot of fiber, but yeah, I don't, you're doing one little thing. But I mean, I'm sure she thinks that that's it. That those chia seeds are gonna be it.
Right. And I love the fact that she says that the broccoli is her favorite food because I didn't see a broccoli party when she hit 100K.
Now, I don't know that anything she eats is her favorite. I was craving it. It's my favorite. That's everything that is ever in front of her. So
Right. And that's unhealthy. It's never like she's like I said, 2 days of home cooking with one like sad oatmeal and a sad looking burnt breakfast. And she
yeah.
was defeated and ready to get a sub sandwich and a
Mm-hmm.
pizza.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. All right. Let's see how she keeps going. It's so bad. Oh yeah. Yeah.
In food prevents blood spiking. Your insulin prevents sugar spikes in your blood, I should say. So I'm trying to get more soluble fiber in my diet. I guess that was advised by a diabetic doctor. In case you're wondering. So we have another bottle of Vimto. I forgot to show you.
That infamous diabetic doctor that she has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, her endocrinologist told her that.
Yes, that's who she's working with currently.
Yeah,
that endocrinologist from the Canadian College of Endocrinology, as we said the other day. not to make fun of any Canadians. We're making fun of Chantel. Anyway,
yes.
more Vimto. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God. Just what she needs, Vimto. And she says she likes Jello. So I think Jello, though, isn't there like not all Jello created equal?
Well, I mean, is that sugar-free? It doesn't look, the sugar-free Jello comes, unless you get the double size, in small boxes. Because if you take the sugar out, it's like a very small package. I very seriously doubt those are sugar-free Jellos. I may be mistaken, but I don't think they are.
She says she likes that Jello. So I wonder how much Jello she's eating.
Yeah. I think it'd be too much trouble for her to make Jello, quite honestly.
I know, I was surprised. Well, this down here says no sugars.
Well, in her almond milk, no sugars, and
The
full
almond
fat
milk.
regular milk. I don't know. She's
Well, she had to have that for the rice pudding. What's this over
Yeah.
here in this packet? Oh my goodness.
I think she did say the Jello was
We have
for
some-
Salah.
Oh, was that what she admitted?
Yeah, I think that's what she said.
Okay, that's what she says always, though.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
No, that would be the size of a house by now. Like he'd be surprisingly Chantel's size if he ate everything that she says he ate. And I don't see Salah after that gallbladder removal that he had.
Yeah.
She is so wild. She is wild. All right, keep going, girl.
Gelatin. Salah loves Jello, so I had another jar of pasta sauce I forgot to show you guys. It's not very organized, sorry. The remaining spices I bought. So I have onion powder. Showed that already. Cinnamon powder, cassia. And these are dried pomegranate seeds. And in Persian food or Iranian rice, they use these a lot. So, but I might sprinkle a few on top of some mahalabia as well.
Loves that rice.
We also have some condensed milk.
Oh, great.
We have a little bitty pot of vanilla powder.
I think that was for the rice pudding, the condensed milk.
Probably.
Maybe it was good that she burnt the rice pudding.
It's very easy to scorch your rice pudding. So that was the only reason why I thought she made it, was because it was scorched. But I don't know, maybe a neighbor brought it to her. But yeah,
She said she burnt the pan. So I wonder where that pan is in the kitchen. just hanging
probably
out.
in the refrigerator, like the blue pot.
Because she just had like one little cup of rescued rice pudding. And then it made me think she always gets a lot of milk and she gets those big bags of rice. How much rice pudding is she making? That's
She just
been a
got the right
question of mine.
I mean, in those pomegranate seeds, there's no telling how much sugar is in those pomegranate seeds, and she's going to put it into rice. Lovely.
Oh, right. With pasta.
Yeah, with pasta and rice. I'm just kidding. Canadians say things funny. No offense. But with her pasta and her vermicelli, and throw some pomegranate seeds in there, and let's just,
Right, exactly. I just can't. All right, keep going, Chantel, so we can get to our questions to the community.
For baking and cooking stuff. We have no sugar added almond milk for the overnight oats. I just prefer it.
Oh, that's why she didn't like those.
We have some fabric softener. This is a local brand. I don't know. A Reach. We have some mixed berry juice. These are some mixed types of like snacks, like chip snacks and stuff.
Oh, great. So
we have some Laban, which is like a dairy kind of yogurt drink. Some sunflower oil, some sliced olives, add to salads.
So I was sort of having a thought around that, having been a distance runner, that one of the things that we kind of didn't like to eat too much was yogurt because it puts weight on you.
Well, I would think it would.
This is for low fat, but
yeah,
isn't there a correlation between all this yogurt and weight gain?
Well, I mean, anything full fat, is going to be more, weight unfriendly than your low fat or non-fat. But I think she's doing this yogurt and kefir and stuff because of her digestive issues.
Right. And I think I've said something to that effect too. Is she's thinking she's got all this probiotic stuff, and I'm thinking, girl, you're just putting weight on too,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if here she goes, she's got all this bread she's grabbing. Look to her right is that bottle of fruit juice that she had.
Yeah.
And that thing, she had finished that juice and was finishing it off, like I want to say in one of the meals, either the sub meal or the pizza meal, one of those.
Yeah.
It was the pizza.
Yeah, and Joanna mentioned, she had a freezer full of pita before, and she's gone through all of it because there'd be no way to put this in the freezer.
Right, she's food hoarding. I mean, she's absolutely food hoarding, but I cannot believe she drank that much juice in that short of an amount of time.
Yeah.
For somebody with type 2 unmanaged diabetes. And it was Chantel who drank all that down. Salao was not sharing that with her.
No.
Absolutely not. That's wild to me. And then all this bread. Oh my God. Cheekbones. How is she still around? But I haven't seen her today. So
a whole bunch of bread has to go in the freezer. It's just a staple here for breakfasts and things, especially for Salah. I mean, I do eat it too, but more juice. So these are the table covers we use. They're white, and you put them down when you're going to eat. If you're going to eat on a table, but mostly if you're going to eat on the floor, which a lot of people at gatherings here, they eat on the ground. So I guess that's it. I'm going to go put these things away. Thank you for watching this haul. So everything total, I will put the prices here somewhere to show you the conversions. And this in American and Canadian, and in Kuwaiti dinar. Just a reminder, the Kuwaiti dinar is the highest valued currency in the world. So it's, I think, about $4 to $1 Canadian. So like no, sorry, the other way around. Like one Kuwaiti dinar is worth about $4 Canadian. A little less for US because the US dollar is stronger than Canadian dollar. So yeah, stay tuned. Ramadan is supposed to start, depending on the moon, but it's supposed to start the evening of the 10th of March. So coming up very soon in a few days. And I have to get my kitchen in order. I have to, reorganize my kitchen and make it conducive for doing some cooking because I'm going to be doing, iftars, dinners after the fast is over, and I'm going to try to cook as much as I can and make a lot of traditional dishes. And I want to make some things, maybe some mahalabia and pass it around to some neighbors around here and just try to give back a little bit.
What do you think to that idea on that dessert?
Well, she doesn't need to be eating any of these desserts, but Lord, she don't need to be giving that to nobody. I mean, she is not, no, health, safety, health, cleanliness, no, Hopefully they won't eat it if she does it.
Well, we know she won't cook anything, and she certainly doesn't believe in charity to the neighbors, especially sharing food. So we know that's never going to happen, thankfully. But yes, I would definitely have a lot of questions around her hygiene, especially considering that somebody told me that they had not seen her washing her hands and going to a restroom.
Oh, no, she never has.
Which,
but she says because she
out.
doesn't wipe, she doesn't need to wash her hands.
Why is she not? How does she know? Oh God, don't even.
This was back in the Villa days. She said
God.
she had went to the restroom and people commented when she got back on live, you didn't wash your hands. And she said, well, I didn't wipe, so I don't need to wash my hands.
Oh God, how is she? Why? Oh, I don't even want to know why she.
Yeah,
well,
I don't think
she's not
she
wiping. She can't reach, I guess. But
yeah, she said she drips, dries, and then I agree. I don't think she can reach either with that hose or with toilet paper.
That's why she smelled sour when she was camping, because she probably smelled like urine. She smells like urine.
Oh, among other things, yeah.
Oh God, it's on her clothes. Oh, I mean, I've worked with many elderly patients. I know oh, that's oh, that's really bad.
Yeah.
Oh, and she expects, and she's sitting there like acting like Susie Homemaker over there.
Yeah.
Oh, gross. 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 Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Chantel breaks me every day.
Yeah.
That's nasty. Oh my gosh. I just can't. All right. Let's see what else she got to say. Then we're gonna answer our questions. She got like a minute and a bit to go. I don't know how she always said she's gonna finish. Doesn't.
Yeah, so this is how we are going to start Ramadan off. We're going to be doing some cooking, and here's a lot of the ingredients I will need. Now, I might need a few other things, but they weren't on sale at the store we shopped at, so we might have to look elsewhere. But that's kind of how we do the shopping to try to save money also on food is you kind of shop at different places that have different things on sale. And around Ramadan, there's a lot of sales, like Ramadan deals. You'll see them all over the grocery stores. And by the way, in Arabic, here we call the grocery store Jamia. They call them Jamia here. So yeah, I'm learning little words here and there. So I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm excited, especially to make my own grape leaves because I've never done that. But I found some yummy recipes and I'm going to try to follow them as well. But a lot of the staple foods for
I love being taken into Chantel's fantasy. What about you, Sonya?
I'm just sitting here shaking my head. That's all.
Are you? What are you shaking your head about specifically? Just a number of lies she's telling about how much she's going to be cooking?
Yeah, just all of it. Yeah, and just the whole. It's on sale. It's Taco Tuesday. That doesn't justify
Ramadan, the
poor
Vimto is
food
staple,
choices.
and you
Oh,
have
hold on. Sorry about that.
the
Sorry about
sambusa.
that, guys. Sorry, Sonya. I hit the wrong button. Continue.
I was just saying that her defense of, oh, it was on sale, oh, it's Taco Tuesday, oh, it's 2 for $1, that's not a defense for poor food choices. I don't care if it's on sale or not, you don't need to be eating it. And or if she can't eat it, not in the portions that she's eating it.
Right, and the thing that just kills me is she's got all this food here, and in reality, she showed us 2 pictures of the things she said she made to eat. We didn't see her eat those. So I don't know how much she consumed of those overnight oats. If she just made them with unsweetened almond milk and a little bit of cinnamon on top or something, she probably was like, bleh,
Yeah. Oh, I'm
you
sure.
know, with the fruit, you know. I'm
Mhm.
sure that went down like a lead pipe, for Chantel. And then the breakfast, she supposedly did like curried hash browns. I don't know. Everything looked brown and fried. And
It
after
was just,
that, she gave up. She was like, I am not cooking at home.
no, she was tired of home cooked meals. She just couldn't eat another one.
That's right. How dare she be subjected to have fresh food at home, that salad, that terrible salad, and you know, those beautiful looking eggplants and stuff she got in there.
Yeah.
You know, she can't even put pasta sauce on some dang pasta noodles and just eat that and be happy.
No, no, it has to have cheese. It's got to have cheese on it.
Well,
And then
yeah,
she got to
well,
eat it with buttery garlic bread. Come on now.
absolutely. And I'm guessing that the specials that she's referring to or the specials at all the takeout places that she's headed to, because she's not cooking for Ramadan.
Mm-mm. No.
Unless that's where she's today, and that's why we haven't seen it, because she's in that kitchen rolling up those little grape leaves at the moment.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Oh,
We
yeah,
still
I could just see
got a
her.
baked bread. We still haven't seen baked bread. She said she did that pizza crust. She did not do that pizza crust. So
What
she
pizza
always got
crust?
grandiose ideas of what she's going to be cooking, and what she does cook looks appalling.
The only thing she makes are pot pies. Those freaking awful looking pot pies, because she likes to make that roux sauce. Because that's the only thing she can make is some roux sauce. Everyone can make a roux sauce. Even I can make a roux sauce. And I don't think there's one person who's not been out of Europe who doesn't know how to make a roux. I mean,
No.
and you probably in the South too. Probably just have a lot of French cuisine down that area. Probably make one too, because it's like that classic.
Yeah. Yeah, she her level of cooking is pretty, the bar's pretty low on that. I wouldn't eat it. But you know, it's as a dietitian looking at her cooking, it's almost like she tries to pack as much fat and calories into something as she can, where she could have, you know, used 2% milk, making her bechamel. She uses heavy cream. Oh, I put a stick of butter in it. You know, it's like you don't need all that. Why do you do that? But I think it just goes to it has to have that high level of fatty taste, or she's not happy.
Gosh, and she doesn't even have a gallbladder, man. It's just
No,
wild to me. Oh my
I know, I know.
Oh God. To me, not that I mean, I don't even eat dairy products, so I can't even imagine.
Well, I like my dairy, but I have for 30 years. You know, it's low fat or fat free dairy
Right.
is all I've eaten. So, you know, I try to make food and take the fat and sodium, and if it's if there's a better replacement for a simple carbohydrate, I try to make it the healthiest that I can. I like to challenge myself to do that. But she's like the polar opposite. It's like, well, let me take this recipe that it's pretty fattening, and I'm going to make it even worse.
Oh yeah. Oh, those pot pies. Those things are terrible. God, that's like the only thing she'll make. She's probably unhappy she don't have anything for a pot pie.
And you also have the mamul. So basically dates and biscuits made with dates. Mamul is very popular for Ramadan foods. So, and also Arabic desserts like mahalabia. That's why you see a lot of things on sale, such as, vanilla powders, cornstarch, corn flour, milks, and stuff like that. So a lot of people make those things. All right, guys. So I guess that's it for now. That's all.
All right, we'll get rid of Chantel and bring our questions up. I just wanted to say, and we'll get through these questions quickly and get us out of here. That because I appreciate all your time this evening, Miss Sonya. And if you haven't had a chance to like or subscribe or whatever, please do so. And the poll's still probably open. We'll give the poll at the end. Sorry, I've got myself off track there for a second. I was just thinking that Miss Chantel here is not going to cook anything. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
What are your final thoughts on her grocery haul here before we finish this out?
Well, I mean, it's not diabetic friendly, that's for sure. It's not heart disease friendly. It's not, health wise, it's not very good. I like that she got the fruit and veg, but or mostly veg, but I have a suspicion that'll just go into the bin.
Right. And the funny thing to me too is that it's supposed to be like a holy month around fasting, and here she is just like pointing out a bunch of food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which doesn't say fasting to me. I mean, obviously they have to. They change the hours that they eat because of the the month, and obviously there is obviously a lot of festivities around the food and how it's done. But I think there's supposed to be a little bit more about charity and stuff. And as we know, Chantel giving her neighbors anything that she's prepared would not be charity to the
No.
neighbors.
That
Oh,
would be a form of punishment in several countries, I believe. Yes, I would.
If we suddenly heard there was like a massive like spat of deaths due to like food poisoning and botulism in like her apartment building in Kuwait, we'd know who was the perpetrator, and it would be Chantel. God.
Kelly asked, "Where can they follow me?" Honestly, nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't have a channel. Don't want a channel. If I said in the first stream I did, I'm always open to help people. If you need help and can't find resources, the easiest way to find me is on Facebook. If you're needing, some type of dietary guidance, but I do not have a channel and do not wish to have one.
And I'm so appreciative that you come onto my channel and come out to the community. So I certainly do appreciate you being here with us tonight. All right, let's get over to these questions because I know I sent these to you ahead of time. So we get Chantel off the screen. Okay, and I'm going to add to the stage my questions. I'm going to stop. All right, let me stop because they tend to go along. Okay, so the first question, and I'm going to let you answer these questions. And the first one came in from Kemp. I'm so bad at these names. Kempers. Maybe that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, I know he comes into the chat. And they ask, how does the brain processing change undergoing the process of neuropathy? How is the cognitive functioning of a diabetic patient as the deterioration progresses?
I'll start with the basics and we'll build on. Your brain, obviously, full of nerve cells, neurons. And your brain uses about half of your daily sugar energy in the body daily. And people that do low carb diets, I've done them where you get irritable and foggy and all. That's why your brain needs carbohydrates to function. But when the glucose is high, it affects the the connectivity of the brain, the areas of the brain, they're all linked nerve-wise. Your blood vessels, we've talked before, become diseased. It restricts the blood flow, and it can cause cognitive issues. And it also accelerates the rate of vascular dementia. Your
Right.
the non-memory domain of the brain, that's what controls your attention, your verbal memory, how fast you do a task. Those are the areas that are affected first. It also causes diabetes causes the vascular disease in the brain. I had seen some studies for vascular dementia. There's an increase of 120% for women with diabetes. And obesity in midlife significantly increases your risk factor with dementia. It accelerates brain aging, and it just accelerates the progression of functional disease.
Right. And that's something I think as a healthcare community, that's an excellent answer. Thank you so much for that. Great answer. I know that somebody saying that Joanna says that her only memories are of high school. Yeah, she's damaged any of her short term and her current memory function. She's only got past memories. That's all she can pull from. But I think
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off. I saw
no,
where
you're fine.
I think Cat C's looking for me. It's Sonya with a Y, and the last name is Hopson, H-O-P, as in Paul, S-O-N. But it's with a Y.
Yeah, and if you want to even write that in the chat, if you're able to access the chat, you can do that, Sonya, as well.
See if I
let me see. I could do that, Sonya. There we go. All right. I put your name in the chat. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, thank you. So that always concerns me as a healthcare provider is that we are having more and more people with type 2 diabetes, many more who are unaware, unmanaged, and therefore we're going to see this potentially in our aging population in the upcoming years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the diabetes, so far as the brain and cognition, you're looking at it on a neurological level and a vascular level.
Wow.
Of destroying that. It just basically shrinks the brain.
I just think that people really, I was just sort of thinking about this the other day and about how, much more seriously, I feel like people took diabetes in the past. Like when people would be diagnosed with diabetes, like they would avoid the candies. You would see like the sugar-free candies, I just remember like when you heard that somebody had been diagnosed, with diabetes, I always felt like I used to see a lifestyle change that accompanied, like it was thought to be serious. Like I'm thinking like, in the 80s, 90s. And I just feel like nowadays people just don't even care.
Yeah, well, I think that all
I know
goes
people
back
do
to
care, but I feel like there's so many now. There's like so many that are with the diagnosis. Sorry to interrupt. That there's maybe a little bit more nonchalance about it. Is that a good word?
Yeah, I think we just become desensitized because it's so prevalent. And like I said before, I feel like a lot of physicians, either because they don't have the resources for diabetes education, or they just give them a medication and, and it'll bring it down for a bit, but you're not changing the root cause of it. So then your numbers are going to go up, and then they just increase your medication. And, Bella and Joanna here, they're absolutely right. Brisk walk, exercise. It don't mean you have to go jump into like you're training for a triathlon. You can, brisk walk is fantastic to do.
Absolutely. And if anybody looks at my little shorts, I'm out every day with my dog Junebug, motivating people to take their steps outside. And I'm a very big proponent that it doesn't have to be this big, intensive, high intensity, workout, or, you know, all of these, oh gosh, the one that they've done recently, gosh, I can't remember it. Like, there's like those fitness people that they're real squatty and they do all the powerlifting and stuff. I can't remember the name of that one. They have them all over the place, like the workout of the day. Anyway, but people are always, I think exercise has to be very intense, and it just simply needs to be a walk. And I heard some rehabilitation doctors saying this exact thing today. Just
Yeah.
get outside and walk.
Yeah. And you know, if there's some reason, weather, whatever, you know, the YouTube's flooded with simple little exercises, walk in place, little 20-30 minute simple, just, you know, movement.
Absolutely.
So
And
you
you can
don't
be
have
even
to.
walking in place right now listening to us too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and that would help for cognitive decline too. Is definitely getting blood flow to the brain. But I do worry about increased vascular dementias. Oh my God, because just how it is at end of life for those patients. Oh gosh. Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, let me not think about that. All right, let's let's get to the next question. All right. So Dawn to Dusk asks, I'm curious about what kind of progression we can expect. And again, this is Chantel. We probably had a question like this similar. A basic outlook of how her health and condition will progressively worsen as she continues to refuse to make any proper changes. Great content as always. I think we touched on this a little bit earlier. But given kind of how she's been looking recently, are we thinking the kidneys are starting to go at this time?
Oh,
Is that your biggest
yeah.
concern for her? Is that your organ that you're most concerned about at this time?
Ooh, that's a crapshoot. You know, it's between her heart and her kidneys, but working in a dialysis unit, um, like I believe I said before, the majority of the patients I had on the machines had high blood pressure and they were diabetic, non-compliant.
Oh God,
And
that high blood pressure on a dialysis patient is out of the roof sometimes.
I mean, it is, you know, and, you know, I did my internship, I was around, but when you go to work in that, it will absolutely terrify you to your core. I can't stress to you that, me personally, that's where I would be the most concerned if I was Chantal, because, you know, even if her kidneys go and she has to start dialysis, to be able to be put on a list for a transplant, she'd have to make all these changes. And that's no way to spend your life. It's
She'd have
true.
to get a cardiac clearance first, because
Yeah.
we used to have to clear them for the kidney transplants.
Yeah. I mean,
So
there's a
you'd have to
myriad.
be
Yeah.
cardiac cleared first, make sure there's no blockages around those holes. I bet you anything she needs a coronary stent.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure, but you know, the progressive, you know, state, or the progression of type 2 diabetes, you're going to look at increasing weight. You're going to look at your loss of mobility, neuropathy, your energy levels being low, decreased kidney functions, cognitive decline, stroke, heart attack. People with diabetes have,
Right, and then
like,
she has that with the, sorry to interrupt, but just explain about how that is also the same things that come along with obesity. I hate to say it.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you very rarely find somebody that's obese or morbidly obese that is not type 2 diabetic. You
Right, I'm
know,
surprised Amberlynn Reed is not type 2 diabetic at this time.
oh, I bet she is. They're not, either she doesn't know or she knows and she doesn't want to say. And if she's not, but you can tell. One of the signs is that I look for, just in a subjective assessment, is you can see those dark rings around the neck. That is a telltale sign of diabetes, and she has them. and on the knuckles. But people with diabetes have like 4 times higher risk of a cardiac event.
Well, absolutely.
So the progression is it just everything gets worse and worse. Her cognitive state, her mobility, her weight's going to go up because she overeats, and just the diabetes itself. And then also eyesight. You touched on that. Eyes will go. I mean, and then you're looking at your peripheral neuropathy. You start losing fingers and toes, and probably toes first. Non-healing wounds. So it's just going to continue to get worse.
Oh yeah. And I touched on this before about how I've taken care of patients at end of life dialysis. And it's probably one of the most difficult patients I've had to see because they just fill with fluid. It's really horrible.
I have seen some stuff, girl. I've seen some stuff.
God, once they have to stop dialysis, it is just rough.
Well, and then I've even seen people who were on dialysis, got the transplant, and then say 15 years later, they're back on dialysis and their fingers are falling off, their toes are falling because of the non-rejection medications. It's terrible. And they're back on dialysis.
Right. And it's really no way to live. If you can mitigate as many risk factors as you can in your life in order to not reach that, that would be the best advice that I would try to give anybody. And obviously, reason why people end up with dialysis is because they've had unmanaged high blood pressure for an extended period of time, and they often don't know.
Yeah.
And that cause that kidneys to shut down finally.
Yeah, and sage moss 4 to 10 days after if you stop dialysis. And there's a lot of factors. I had a patient, oh gosh, I can't remember how much fluid we were pulling off of him.
Oh God.
He was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, non-compliant type 2 sweetest guy.
Absolutely. They're sweethearts. Yes.
But it was just unbelievable the amount of fluid that was pulling off of him. So I've seen them go in 3 to 4 days that they chose to stop dialysis.
Right. And I've seen it where patients have lived, because especially sadly some female patients, because they were so heavy set, they've lived quite a lot of time with nothing to eat, drink, just like fluid filled. It's rough. It's rough. Anyway, let's get to the next question. Wow, what cheerful stuff, hey? Let's get to the next. Well, we really just are having this conversation because we would hope because I do, just to give you heads up, Cheekbones, Sonya, is I do get some very young people who do come and check this channel out, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important that we start to have these conversations because I think there's so many influencers who sell just crud nutritional supplements and diet shakes and teas. And I mean, we could have a whole nother conversation on that one day. So I might get you on that one day because I really would love it.
Well, I applaud you having this type of forum because like you said, there's so much misinformation or, there's not a magic pill, there's not an herbal tea, all that kind of stuff. It's just basic nutrition. And, and just her blasé treating of her diabetes, I think sends a bad signal to a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. Sitting there eating those pistachio treats and, trying to convince people that she's had guests eating all those chocolate bars and her blood sugars are fine and she's managing this, that, and the other. And us in the healthcare industry who are older and who understand how health works as far as taking care of yourself, knows that you cannot be like that. You cannot be unmanaged. You can't just be getting medications out of nowhere with no doctor following, just all this wild talk that she has that if anybody was listening to her, I mean, they would it just astounds me. And the fact the other day she talked about wanting to have a 6-pack. I'm just like, she just talk about this glow up all the time. It's like, gosh, girl, you can't even get the basics for how to manage a diet, you know? I mean, just anyway. All right, let's get to the next question. Let's see what we got up next. All right, so I have another. See, I've got a young person question here. I tell you, I get them even under the age of 18. I mean, I get all sorts of young folks on here. So it says, I am a 25-year LMT. And I think I worked out what that acronym was. And when I hear talk about sciatica, it makes me just shake my head.
We I think talked about this the last time. It could be sciatica. It could just be from carrying so much weight on the front. But the nerve damage with diabetes can cause damage to that nerve in your leg, in a leg. So, right. And then also, I've seen some studies where low vitamin D can cause lower back pain. It could be kidney failure.
Right. The kidneys, absolutely. And then I've heard too, if it's any type of autoimmune disease, it could potentially affect the kidneys, because she looks oh gosh. Yeah. So yeah. And I think she's sort of goes off and on the sciatica arc. And I think more and more people are starting to understand that she's not had any actual diagnosis from anybody and any diagnostic testing for her to be just sitting here saying it's sciatica.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's like her, my tummy was upset. It must be the NSAIDs. It couldn't be your diabetes, couldn't be no gallbladder and eating, all that. It's like she goes to something that's not related to her health. I've had sciatica once in my life when I was pregnant, and I can tell you I couldn't move. I had to lay in the bed till it went away, and knock on wood, that was 30 something years ago. So, but that's not, that could, and I was not overweight. I was just pregnant. So, look, sciatica, that's not weight related necessarily. That doesn't have anything to do with my health. So that's what I'll pick, and we're all sitting here shaking our heads because I very seriously doubt that. I have a suspicion. This is my allegedly conspiracy, whatever.
Well, tell us what that is, please. I know everyone wants to know.
I believe when she was in Canada, she was receiving pain meds for body aches, for being in pain from being so overweight.
Right.
I fully believe she was taking pain medication.
Right. And I wondered, remember I mentioned that about when she hit up that emergency room. I wonder what she was getting. Or I always wonder, when grandma passed away, did she hit up grandma's pharmacy cabinet?
Could very well be. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
How long has it been since her grandma passed away?
That was did she die in 2020 or 2021? I'm trying to piece together all my.
Always makes me think Chantel's scammered into grandma's cabinet because she's like the dicloculac. It's like a classic for an elderly person.
Yeah, Angel of Glass 2021.
Oh, Joanna said she was taking Pete's antidepressants here.
Yeah, that's what she said. So, I don't understand. I know Canada has the socialized medicine or the free healthcare and stuff, but I can tell you, we don't have that here. I do have health insurance, but I have a very high deductible. So I have to pay everything till I meet that deductible. And if I had to go stand in line somewhere at 8 o'clock in the morning to get free health care, you better bet your sleep bottom dollar I'd be there when the rooster crowed. But, she can't be bothered. She did have referral to a family doctor. She sloughed that off. So she didn't get, which I understand is very hard to get family doctors there. So, she, if it's free, why are you not taking what? She doesn't have a husband, a real husband, or children, or a job she's got to be at, or that type of thing that all these other Canadians have to deal with, and they still get their medical care.
Right.
But
I think she just thought she was special and didn't have to line up. I think she just thinks she needs concierge. She should just be able to, I think she wants to think that she could be, just getting an appointment, showing up at an appointment and not having to line up. But even here in this country where they do have some urgent cares in my area that offer low income individuals a subsidized health visit, like if you urgently need it, there is an urgent care that will subsidize that for low incomes in my area. It's just like a regular urgent care, but you're going to be waiting there. You're going to make an appointment and you'll still be waiting. I mean, who doesn't wait at a doctor's office, girl? I mean, I think she just was embarrassed probably with her size too, to have to stand in line. I think for her to have to stand in line probably that early in the morning was probably an uncomfortable idea for her.
Oh, just waiting at all. Yeah. I mean, my area, we have one physician that will even accept patients, but you have to apply and he has to approve you to be a patient. I think there's one other GP in my area and he's not taking any new patients. So urgent cares are our main source of healthcare in my area.
Right. And it is for many areas.
Yeah. And they've, become like a primary care, center. So if I go somewhere else for something, they'll say, oh, you need to do this. It's continuity of care. And I'm like, there's no continuity of care here. It's an urgent care.
Right.
I don't have a GP to refer me here or there or that kind of stuff. So luckily working in the medical field, I'm friends with doctors and stuff. So I can, if I had to, that's why we got the physician when we moved back here to Tennessee to take us, is because I worked with him prior. So he took us, he knew me.
Right. And even in areas like mine, when I first got my internal medicine doctor, she was just new to the practice. So I was able to get an appointment very quickly with her. And now I have to wait an inordinate amounts of time to see her, because she just got booked up after that. I mean, second you find a new internal medicine doctor or anybody like that, I tell you, doesn't take long for their books to get fully booked up. I mean, and there just becomes a point where they can't manage to take on any more patients. And there are so many, I almost, and this is just an aside. And I think that we work so much, a lot of people, and the cost of healthcare, especially now with it getting even more and more out of these out-of-pocket costs, which can be very high, especially in the US, that people will be putting off their healthcare until they are Medicare age, and then probably have worse health and probably undiagnosed diabetes.
Absolutely.
It makes it even worse. So yeah. Anyway, all right, let's get to our next question, because like I said, we'll have to have a conversation. But yeah, Chantel's lazy, and I think about those people in West Virginia that line up with those tickets for days to get that health care out there. The big fair they have with the dentist and the opticians, everybody out there. And those people literally will line up for days to get some health care. And Chantel over here, I think she is just so conceited in her way. I think she really does. Her narcissism is so bad that she, even without having the financial means, expects to have, carte blanche healthcare services to her catering,
Yeah.
And she's not somebody who's got any of those financial means.
And she did have financial means at one time that she probably could have said, hey, if I pay cash, what's the discount? And she could have went right to the front of the line. But
she literally blew her financial means.
Absolutely.
Blew through it, literally. just shameful. I know she could have a house and renting and all sorts of stability, but it wouldn't be Chantel, would it? If she was
No.
stable and normal.
Mm-mm.
Otherwise, she would be not fun to talk to. All right, everybody, if you haven't had a chance to hit those likes, please do so. Let's get to our next question. All right. So Lala Boo says, with no disrespect, I love the way my audience are so sweet. I am curious about the health of the skin. I think we touched a little bit on this, so maybe we just touch a little bit more. The creases and such. Does the diabetes affect the skin flora in such a way it breaks down easier? Thank you.
Well, the way that the skin breaks down easier, as I talked about before, is the vascular damage and the nerve damage. The skin is the largest organ of the human body. So you're being diabetic. I said, talk about the dark neckline in the armpits. You can get diabetic blisters. You're more prone to bacterial infections, staph, which is the most common. And you and I know about the staph. Fungal infections, because when your blood sugars are higher, you're more likely to get the fungal infections with the folds, inner skin, keeping that clean and dry. And then, when your glucose is high, like I said, it pulls water from the cells to flush that glucose out. Well, that leaves your skin dry and itchy. What are you going to do? You're going to scratch a place. Now your skin's already compromised because decreased circulation, you're not manufacturing the collagen like you should. So it's slow to heal, can get infected.
Right. And that's what I'm thinking. That diabetes is definitely something that prolongs healing too. So, and then, that's scary to think that you're scratching. You could scratch your skin and actually cause a lesion, a tear, a skin tear that then becomes difficult to heal because you're diabetic.
And if your hygiene's not good, and then what lives on the skin? Staph.
Right. Oh God. Oh God.
So that would be the ways of it breaking down would just be the compromise with the vascular and the nerve, damage.
Right. And she just does not, I think, get a chance to really bathe properly.
Yeah. And with the diabetes, your white blood cells, they become less able to fight infections.
Right. And then her immunity is probably already compromised because she doesn't get enough vitamin D exposure, which you need for immunity as well. Yeah. So I'm sure, oh my God, she is just I just think, oh my gosh. I mean, I just see her I feel like she's just slowing down. And even from when she was in Canada and kind of rolling around in the car and stuff, just like her speech, like everything I kind of notice about her is slowing down.
Yeah. It seems like I've noticed recently, I don't know if the chat has too, because I'm sure we all watch her reach to try for words or listen to me, mispronunciation of words. I have seen it marked in the last few weeks.
Wow.
With her. Now that's just my observation. I like to observe people. So, but that may be goes back to the brain and the cognition and, but yeah.
Right. And I think that's something that, is a big part in the healthcare is that sort of assessment that you do on somebody like me, starting to notice that she's really looking sweaty and her face, she's starting to get the Tammy Slayton forehead now.
Yeah. Tamara, like she just said in the chat there, she sounds like she's drunk. A lot of people have said, commented, she sounds like she's on something. Well, that may very well could be what it is.
Right. Right, and that is possible. I mean, like I said, I always get somebody made fun of me. I was like, "I have a speech impediment. Gosh, please." Sometimes my lisp gets a little wonky sometimes. But, so I try not to be too harsh, but she just like, even when she goes to rage, her energy to rage is not even there, I feel anymore. Like, she
Yeah.
doesn't have it in her.
Yeah, because I mean, last Ramadan, she was the most vile. I've never heard such vile things come out of a human being.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
last
What was
year.
she on about last Ramadan?
Are you serious? I like her, watch her.
Oh, me too,
But
me too.
just,
Yeah, absolutely.
calling Salal's friend's wife that bathed her because she stunk and couldn't bathe, couldn't, I guess, fit in their bathroom they were living at in that first place. And
Right.
then comes out and calls her a her and, just some vile things
Well,
because,
that's because she's sour from that urine that she drip dries onto the clothing. I mean,
well,
the urine's gonna get on your clothing and it's gonna smell over time.
yeah, but I mean that this woman did an act of kindness, and because she
Right.
was mad at Salal's friend, she
Oh,
starts going in on the wife, and it was really terrible. I mean, but she always goes to that place.
right.
She calls it defending herself, but that's not defending yourself.
No.
But she did. I think she actually raged every day of Ramadan last year.
That was probably the last decent bath she had.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it.
I probably was I am too serious too. I'm seriously thinking that was probably the last time she got decently washed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. Oh, gross. Oh gosh. Okay. Oh, and that staffy smell too. Oh god, the sugar
Yeah.
smell. It's just there is a very distinct smell, and she's just oh, and she sits there like acting like she's just the Queen of Sheba over there.
I cannot. I cannot imagine.
I mean, really, it's perfect. The Queen of Sheba. That's who she is. Okay, let's get to the next one. All right. If her current mobility issues are from diabetic neuropathy, because there's a lot of questions about her gait and stuff in the community, it seems to have come on rather quickly. Is that typical of neuropathy? I have nerve damage from an injury and it was sudden, but I thought diabetic neuropathy occurred gradually. What are your thoughts
Well,
on that question?
I mean, it does. And I think I had said this on the last stream I was with you. That video of her walking up the ramp and she was dragging her leg. I felt like that specific time was performative. But if it's gonna hit you, and like we said, we don't know what's wrong with her leg. Is it due to diabetic nerve damage? Is it due to her barrel stomach and just the strain on her back? Is it her kidneys? So we don't know what's actually causing it, but I mean it is a general, a gradual process, the neuropathy.
Right. Right. And at least I would think part of her gait is definitely affected by her weight.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and just her body shape, there are some obstacles around that I think inhibit her from walking at a
Oh,
normal
yeah.
gait.
Oh, yeah, that too. And she's probably not got it, oh gosh. I mean, that whole fact that is something that's part of her anatomy just already says to me it's like the fat doesn't know where to go, and now it's literally creating a bowling ball off your body. Because
Yeah.
I've seen some big ones on people before, some
Hmm.
women. Because when I worked in plastic surgery and have had people had to come in for abdominal surgery to get those removed.
Yep.
And she's
Yeah.
not even done that. I mean, God.
No,
Oh,
there's a mark from what you can see with the abaya, um, from the Villa days to
mm,
now.
Right.
it's that fupa or whatever she calls that, is quite larger. And Zephyr, yeah, and I noticed this, she has that hump back.
Right.
Yeah, neck fat. That has become marked. It's almost like somebody said her shoulders are swallowing her head.
Right.
Yeah, she
And
has
that's
that
almost
hump.
like a sign of I think Cushing's syndrome has that sometimes that hump at the back.
Yeah, PCOS, but
Right.
so but again, it's a crapshoot. Throw a dart. It could be any of those or all of those. So
Right. And a little bit of everything with her.
yeah.
Yeah. And she
Oh,
is definitely, oh my gosh. And I think about that fupa, as she calls it, not being properly innervated and vasculated. And
yes.
therefore, because it's not got all of that vasculation, it
Yeah.
is going to be more prone to having sores on it, potentially.
Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely.
she doesn't keep herself properly clean and take care of her skin. So
Yeah.
she's going to have even more breakdown and problems. Oh,
Yeah.
God. I would not want to be the nurse getting her as an admitting patient.
Yeah. I mean, and there's, I had put in your chat, I can't remember what stream it was. I have seen a patient, actually she did not move from her couch for 2 years. When I say she did not move from her couch, she did not move from her couch for 2 years. She had 2 teenage sons. They brought her food. When they finally called the ambulance to come and take her to the hospital, there parts of the cushion were stuck to her. But her folds had become totally necrotic. And when they lifted that, it was, you could see the internal organs. I mean, it had just had rotted all the way through.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was the smell.
Oh.
I mean,
Oh.
it was terrible.
Oh, I have had dealt with people with necrotizing fasciitis, so I know what necrosis smells like. It's a smell you'll never forget.
Never forget.
Oh God. Oh. Oh. It is about the worst thing. It takes even C. diff down.
Oh yeah. You'd go nose that diff, man, other than the smell that. Yeah, like a dead body.
Oh gosh. Oh, that's just oh my gosh. And just the fact that somebody is so unaware that just to sit there and to continue to probably eat, just sit there and eat. Oh my gosh. She is gonna end up like that. And who's gonna be bathing? She's not gonna suddenly just
So, I'm just, the pool, you're talking about the weight of but I mean, I kind of say he has like 3, the upper stomach, the lower stomach, and the fupa. But the pool on that, damaging the skin.
right, because Rose Thorns Reacts actually asked me about whether it pulled her abdominal wall, and I was thinking it was pulling more the dermis than the sort of musculature structure of the abdominal wall.
Yeah.
Not that I don't think it can find her abdominal wall.
No, I think at this point you need Jacques Cousteau to go find that abdominal wall, because no, it would be just the adipose tissue.
Oh God, and her organs have just got to be wrapped and added, because it does start to affect the organs inside the body. I don't think that people realize that, your organs, like you see them in the anatomy book, aren't preserved like that when you have all that adipose tissue in there.
No.
And it goes and it affects your organs. And she is setting herself up for a catastrophic event, obviously.
Yeah.
Even if she only eats 3 of those pistachio treats. Okay.
Yes.
Let's get to the next question, and then we'll finish out with the poll. What we got here? All right. Besides, because I'm taking up so much of your time, and I certainly do. I know everyone appreciates it, because the Oscars, I understand, were lackluster last night.
I don't watch those.
I didn't either. I went live last night with Chantel going live, and I had people who were live watching me. I was like, gosh, do you remember the days when, and sorry, just to throw this to the side, but I remember 20 years ago, if the Oscars were coming on, you literally had like people having Oscar parties, and you would be at somebody's house, all excited, like doing pulls on who was going to win. Nowadays, nobody cares.
Oh no, I don't watch movies. I'm an old lady. I have my simple taste. That reminds me, I'm gonna leave myself a note. I did not get a notification on your stream. I need to check and make sure I've got that little bell on. Y'all make sure your bells are on now.
Yes, hit the bells if you want to, people too. I know. And thank you for saying this is a good channel. I know. I'm waiting to become a bigger streamer, and maybe then I start doing memberships.
I love doing these. I could talk about nutrition all day.
Oh, me too. And I've always been, and if I hadn't sort of gone the nursing route, I think registered dietitian would have been something of interest to me as well, just because I've always had a fascination for I guess I never liked fried foods. I was a weird kid. I always wanted to eat healthfully. I didn't like the bad stuff. And my friends used to get always like I hated chips, like in England, like the chips like we eat, like French fries. And I hated that stuff. So I think that's what kept me so slim even through college, because I wanted to eat real food and eat good food. I did not want to eat like fast food or any of that stuff. But anyway, all right. So we just talked about this one. So this was another question. I think we covered this one. It said, besides all the physical effects, does high blood sugar, diabetes cause mental issues? Pardon me. Mental issues like cognitive decline. And I think we've talked about that, and talked about the fact that it can lead to higher risks for vascular dementias, and even other things like a stroke, which could lead you to quite a cognitive decline as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get to the next one. All right. Okay, so Zalia B asks, I hope there is a conversation about how type 2 diabetes can be reversed, especially if lifestyle changes can happen early. So let's touch on this real fast.
Okay.
Let them know the hard truth.
You cannot cure type 2 diabetes, but you can go into remission. And you said it, I said it last stream I did with you. Catching it early is the best outlook. But there are people who have been type 2 diabetics for 20 years who can control it with just the diet. Weight loss.
How young should we be looking at a hemoglobin? How young should somebody get their first hemoglobin A1C now?
Well, me, I had to do nutritional counseling. It was actually for weight management, but a boy was 16 years old and 425 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And I suggested to his mother to, go to the doctor. I mean, CMP, CBC, vitamin D levels, and the A1C, to get it all checked out. Now they went on to their GP, and I sent the letter, but it's the risk factors. If you're overweight, I don't care your age, I'd be getting it checked out. I mean, it's just a simple test, get it checked out, because the earlier you find out, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Just Jamie, thank you so much for the super chat. She has a question here. And let me just take this down from the stage real quick so we can see her question. Says, I have a question about symptoms. What are the first signs of emergency for Chantel at this time? It's crazy that she doesn't seem phased. Thank you, Jamie, for that super chat. Appreciate it.
That's a good question. But it depends on first signs of emergency for her diabetes, for her high blood pressure, for her kidney failure. It's, the diabetes, I would suspect would be like kind of like a coma state, losing consciousness. If it's the high blood pressure, it could be, an ischemic attack or a stroke, a heart attack. Kidneys, that the toxins are in the blood, and swelling, lethargic, and then it could be her liver. It could be yellowing of her eyes, and that look on their skin, that look when it's liver.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
And I said that about her the other day about keeping a sclera watch on the eyes, and she didn't have any filters. Like, how yellow is she? I just certainly, I mean, it's amazing because Tammy Slayton managed to go for quite some time, like almost to death's door.
yeah.
I mean, literally, she got to death's door, and thankfully, she was able to be, a lot of medical care. That's a lot of medical care that had to go into this individual to help, and she's still on the cannula. I don't think she's off the nasal cannula at all. I think she's still on, like, has to have I think she's on oxygen now, isn't she, Tammy Slayton? From what I see,
I really don't follow her.
I don't follow her either, but I always feel like I see her with she's thin, but she got the cannula.
Yeah.
But I think, like, I'm surprised that Chantel has, like I said, not had an event, but it's amazing that the human body can keep going, keep going, keep going. She can keep eating this food, not have any exercise, keep going, keep going. No exercise, no medical management, no blood pressure checks, keep going, keep going. But she's not going as much, I don't think.
Yeah.
The walking, and we didn't see any of the videos when she supposedly went out and got decorations.
Yeah, she didn't go out. She's not going out. Michaela had tagged me in her chat about not understanding, but I don't know.
Oh, good. Thank you, brother.
What it is that is it about the diabetes or, but if she'll stick it in the chat, I'll try to help her.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. It's okay. So hopefully we answered your question, just Jamie. I mean, for me, if she starts to, some of the things that, are a little bit different for women and signs and symptoms of potential cardiovascular problems can be things like lower back pain. I hate to say it. Feelings of nausea can be often a sign of early warning signs to cardiovascular disease. I'm talking about, like, about to have a myocardial infarction. The left arm pain. The lower back pain, I think, is one of the ones which is specifically female and not with the men, like the men that sort of like the elephant sitting on the chest. Women get that, but there's some other things that women get that are not the same as men.
Yeah.
And so I just, she has got to be close to some type of cardiac event, especially when she did all those drugs in the back.
Yeah.
Knowing
that's not helping her.
History.
Yeah. And, it's, the headaches, that would be concerning. But if it's the diabetes, it'll be some type of hyperglycemic event. Which, can be just confusion or coma.
Right. And then that, of course, then the concern is not, it's the type 1s get the diabetic ketoacidosis, which is the ones that the type 2 get if they get very hyperglycemic. What's their
well, the diabetic ketoacidosis is more prevalent in type 1 than in type 2.
Right, exactly. So, but there is a diabetes. Oh, what is it? Oh, gosh. Is it diabetes? Oh, there's like a storm that comes on, like a cascade type thing if they get like really out of control. Anyway, All right, I'm trying to go back to my path. I know they can get like beyond just even the hyperglycemia, like basically the diabetic coma.
Yeah.
Basically. So, and diabetic strokes too, because I think my grandmother's had those back in the time. Okay, let's bring the questions back up. All right, so cheerful. Oh. Let me see. What was that last one? Sorry. Did we cover this? Let me see. Let me go back a little tiny bit here. Look how professional. All right. Okay. So, what kind of symptoms do you think she has on a daily basis with blood sugars that high and eating the kinds of food she does? What type of symptoms?
Well, I mean, and we've talked about it before. When somebody has lived that long with high blood sugars, the body acclimates. If you and I went to a blood sugar as high as hers, we'd kill over because we're not used to it. She's used to it. But the thirst, the swelling, and it just depends on how high, as
Her
to,
swelling terrible at the moment.
if she was 400 and over. But I honestly think she could probably function relatively normal at 400 blood sugar.
Oh, absolutely. Because she had that blood sugar when she rolled herself into that Canadian ER.
Yeah.
She was still very functioning.
Yes.
But after a while, the body just can't keep the homeostasis going any longer.
Correct.
I think that is what I think people are trying to figure out. It's like, when is it that her body is going to be no longer able to maintain homeostasis?
Yeah, correct. The human body is an amazing thing.
Oh,
And it always tries to check and balance. But, when you're, stuffing the ballot box on one side, it's not going to work out.
absolutely. I think that's where I think we all get too comfortable in our bodies. And that's why I've always tried to encourage people to start to follow up and get more checks with a healthcare provider. If you are here in the United States, make sure that if you just have even the worst of your health insurance, at least use the preventative parts of the insurance policy that get you at least some basic lab work, maybe, and a visit with a doctor.
Yeah.
That's not going to be a big out-of-pocket cost for you. At least get the basics.
And I would say, I would recommend if you get labs done at your physician's, you get a copy of them. And if
Yes.
something is abnormal, call a nurse, a dietitian, look it up, research it. I had a lab missed, for years. And I even brought it up to the physician. I was like, hey, my platelets are like really low. And he was like, he said, oh, your labs look great. And I said, well, my platelets are like real low. And they're extremely low. And I ended up, he got up, picked up the phone and made me an appointment at the cancer center.
Right. I was about to say, you said platelets. My mind's going to oncology.
Yeah, I want to say they were like 40. And and I was diagnosed with ITP. So, there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, if I'm ever in an accident, I'll bleed out before they ever get me anywhere. But because I had labs 3 months prior and noticed that was low. And then the next time I had him, brought it up to him, and he I looked at him, they all look good. So, be responsible for your own health. Just, I'm not trying to trash on any doctors, but
absolutely. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I certainly never want to trash on my physicians, because I know how overworked they are, and they can, they are so pushed and made to have such little time to be able to connect with patients. That's why I feel like it's so important to have platforms like this one, where health professionals who are legitimate health professionals can talk about these things and have conversations, because it is so hard to get a lot of time and, sort of try to educate people how to be good advocates and stewards for their health, because
Mm-hmm.
it's so expensive
Yeah.
to take
Yeah.
care of yourself, especially here in the US. And I think even in other countries where you're waiting for extended periods of time to see a provider, probably doing the most that you can do to minimize your risks and understand how you can care for yourself. Like, I am all for people getting a home blood pressure and checking their blood pressures at home.
Yeah.
As soon as you
Absolutely.
the earlier in your life, the better, thinking that, once a year at your doctor's, starting at 40 or 50 is a good time to start checking your blood pressures is not a good plan.
Yeah. Hippie Easter wants to know what we think of Manjaro and Ozempic.
I mean, okay, you give your thoughts first, and then I'll give mine. How about that?
I think if you do your research and you know the risk and the benefits, I'm all for it. I had much, and I'm probably going to stir some tail feathers with this one. I had much rather you go and try something like this than to jump in and have gastric bypass.
Right,
I mean, that I'm not a big proponent of it. The gastric bypass, I know that it saves lives and people have success with it, but I've seen the flip side of it.
right,
So if you educated about, the pros and cons, I think it's fantastic. I have a friend that's on that Monjaro and she has lost, I want to say 180 pounds.
right,
Just absolutely, just mind blowing, the weight
right,
loss.
right.
So, but you can't educate yourself and you decide if that's the risk you want to go, the risk that you want to take or don't want to take. But I've seen a lot of people have, really good results on them.
Absolutely. And I kind of lean the same way that you do too, Sonia, that I think if anything is able to be prescribed to a patient that is going to enable them to have a better quality of life and even save their life, then
Mm-hmm.
obviously that's what you want to do for the patient. But I always want to make sure that, especially when it comes to drugs for managing things like diabetes, it is an expectation that you should make some lifestyle changes to go with those medications. And I
Absolutely.
think just thinking that the drugs are a panacea to fix a larger problem about food consumption, food choices, understanding nutrition, understanding the need just to get outside and walk and not sit and be sedentary and drive and
Yeah.
these types of things. I think
Yeah.
is still is such an important conversation. I think that everybody looks for a quick fix. And though this might initially be the quick fix, there are side effects that can be quite dramatic with these drugs a lot of times.
Yeah.
And other than the good side effects, like the weight loss, obviously, and then
Yeah.
the things that happen, like lowering blood pressure because of the weight loss and all the good things that come along with that.
Yeah.
But I think we still need to have these bigger conversations around lifestyle.
Yeah. And, whether it's, an injectable or a pill or a surgery, if you don't make those lifestyle changes, the weight will come back. It doesn't matter, which one avenue you go down. So
Absolutely.
but for a motivator, a lot of people, when they start losing the weight, they start moving more, they get out more, and they don't want to go back to what they were before. And I'm just saying that as people without, you know, eating disorders or, that type of thing. But, you have to put the work in no matter what you do.
Right. And I think the patient still needs to understand, how did they get to the weight they were in order to then need this drug,
Yeah.
because it's not something that everybody, even though we see more people experiencing it now, it's not always been the norm for people
Yeah.
to be so large.
Yeah. Oh, I
And
agree.
you know, and it's like, it's wild. It's like, and it's probably because I want to think we're still eating like farmers with this crappy, well, bad ultra processed food though, but there's portion sizes and farmer sizes, but nobody out there farming, you
Yeah.
know, sitting around in an office, you know. So
Yeah.
why would you load yourself up with a breakfast that would, you know, set you up to go do 8 or, like Foodie double fisting those subs? That looked
Yeah.
like those look like 2 sandwiches for a construction worker after 5 hours on the job,
Yeah.
not for somebody who just woke up.
Yeah.
I mean, she
Yeah.
just literally woke up and stuffed 2 sub sandwiches down her gob.
I wanted to touch on one thing about the remission, reversing the type 2 diabetes
Right.
question. To be in remission, your A1C has to be 6.5 or less for 3 months after you stop medication. That then you are considered in remission.
Now, do you have to also do like another fasting or an insulin resistance test with that, like the 2, to make sure you're definitely
As far as I
diet
know,
controlled, or is it just the A1C?
I think it's just the A1C.
Right. And I think people need to start requesting that. I don't know if doctors sometimes think to order it. I don't know if it's part of the preventative panel.
I have not seen it.
But I don't.
In my area, your preventative panel is a CMP and a CBC.
Right. And that to me is like, why are we not including an A1C with the prevalence of diabetes in this country?
Correct. Ooh, hippie Easter, you had your spleen out. I don't want my spleen out. I like my innards. I like them all. I don't want none of them out. And oddly enough, my hematologist did not say anything about that. He just said if it gets, I think, below 35 or 32, that they could give me a medication. But no, I don't want my spleen removed.
That's
like
okay. You can go pretty good without a spleen, though. It's one of the organs that you can't lose.
I'm partial with my innards. I don't want.
I know, but you know, if you had to lose something, a spleen's not terrible.
Yeah, that's true.
Better than the pancreas. Chantel losing her pancreas over here. No, I mean, obviously, we don't want you to lose your spleen, but it's not the worst organ to lose. Gosh, we had to do a pixie of the organs anyway. All right, let's see what the next person said. Oh, eating the kind of foods daily basis. Oh, well, I mean, the symptoms that she has, I mean, I think now I want to say what, like, for like, I think people don't understand, like, the hypoglycemia is like that level of consciousness change. It's the sweating, you know, like massive diaphoretic sweating, you know, showing very low blood sugars. That's when you want to get, and that's the classic. And I think, people are thinking that's the sign of the hyper, whereas the hyper is like, you want to pee a lot, you want to eat a lot, you want to drink a lot, which Chantel is all of those 3. And then you hit diabetic coma and you're just literally like out of it.
Yeah. I've seen it. It's not pretty.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I've seen it both ways. I've seen it hyper and hyper.
I've seen a lot more hyper than I have hypo.
Oh gosh. Well, see, with the elderly folks in the hospital, sometimes you get them with the hypo.
Yeah.
Because their blood sugar is something like 55,
Yeah.
So I mean, but they probably had a history of diabetes along with it. So it just kind of seems to happen. All right, let's look at the next one. All right. Okay. This is like, so we're getting a theme here. So some of the questions, but I just wanted to make sure I included everybody who took the time to leave me a question here. How long can one's organs run with blood sugars like hers?
It's one of them things. There's not a set, time limit. It's just when the body, and everybody is different, when the body has
Right.
had enough. And
Right.
it'll be one or multiple will shut down.
Right. And that's the thing. I think she doesn't seem to, I think she's had enough events that they've all been sort of singular things that have happened,
Mhm.
like the gallbladder, sort of thing. Whereas if something on this level, I think the next thing could be end up with her having multiple organ failure if she's not careful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because it's going to be a catastrophic event. I think it's going to be much, much worse if she continues with making no changes in how she eats and how she does not exercise.
Well, it's selfish of her just on a personal level to continue with this, but it's also very selfish of her to do this to her mother, because if she has some type of a catastrophic event in Kuwait, as a mother, I cannot imagine that I would move heaven and earth and sell a kidney to get my child back with me. To make sure she had medical care, make sure she was taken care of, so, it's really selfish, to do that to her mother.
Yes. Yeah. And anybody else who may care about her in Canada.
Well, I was kind of trying to think of somebody, but that was the only one that came. No, I'm just
Well,
kidding.
I know. I know.
I'm just kidding. But, I'm just thinking from a parent perspective.
Right. Right. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if her mother is, but her mother, I understand, does work in the healthcare industry. And so she sees people, and so I don't know if she's just naive because she thinks Chantel is young and therefore nothing will happen. But we're having it happen to younger and younger people. And for me, I mean, if it's cancer going to take her out on that colon, I'm telling you, for her lack of, this national, just to give you a heads up, March is Colon Cancer Awareness Month, everybody. If you need to get your colonoscopies, make sure you get them done.
Yes.
But, and younger people are being diagnosed, and it's probably, fast food lifestyle and being very sedentary. And Chantel just thinks she's Teflon out there, but we all know that once she hits 40, it's kind of downhill.
Yeah. I was thinking that her mother was like a CNA. I don't know that she's a nurse, because Chantal would have been hollering that from the mountaintop if she was a nurse. I'm thinking she somewhere along the lore that she was a CNA. I thought.
Right.
Now I may be wrong, Jennifer. I might be wrong on that, but
she would definitely be talking about her mom being a nurse. My mom's a nurse.
Yes.
She'd be all like that.
But, I talked about it last time, with her fatty liver, if she's not in cirrhosis, she's, real close to it. And like I said, I've seen multiple times where the cirrhosis turns into liver cancer.
Oh God. And I'm just going to let you know that the liver, once anything really starts to happen to the liver, that's not good.
No.
That's like anything, once you hear it's really hitting the liver, and she's certainly, she could be starting to get ascites. If she starts, my telltale sign, if she starts really scratching and she can't stop itching, and she's itching on camera, then I'll know those bile salts are starting to collect under her skin. And then I'll know her liver's starting to go bad.
Yeah.
And then that's bad. That's not a good sign. Because liver, she's not going to be on a transplant. She's not going to be getting a transplant.
No.
Gosh. And the liver, unfortunately, is one of those organs that if it does go to liver cancer, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. There's nothing you can do.
Thank you, Hippie, for your advice on the ITP. I appreciate it. Hippie's just letting me know that I do not want the ITP meds, and my hematologist said the same thing. So, but I appreciate that. Sorry to interrupt. But
That's
he's
okay.
trying to give me the straight and narrow on the ITP. I appreciate that.
And, well, many of us have actually entered healthcare because we want to avoid having to get as much healthcare as possible.
Absolutely. That was, this has always been a goal of mine. And when I went to the hematologist, I was always one of these people, because you work in healthcare, how people come in with their Ziploc gallon bags full of medication. And I was like, I will never be one of those people. So when I went to the hematologist, they were like, okay, what medications are you on? And I'm like, like multivitamin, vitamin D. And no, I'm not on any medications. Oh, you don't take anything for blood? No, I don't have high blood pressure. No, I don't have diabetes. No, I don't have any of this. And they were just absolutely gobsmacked. And I was like, look, I've worked hard to not have a Ziploc bag full of pills. I mean, if you have to take them, you have to take them. But,
absolutely,
if it's something I could have prevented, then that's what I've tried to do. So.
Oh, and those patients were cardiac for sure, because they.
Look, my daddy was one of the Ziploc crew. So yeah.
Gosh, I tell you, that's one of the things with being, in the cardiac medication field. You better love some pharmacy, because there's like so many hard medications, and you're gonna try every single one of them with your patients until you get the right combination to get their blood pressure down.
Yeah.
Because you don't want them to go into dialysis.
No.
And they really do have big plastic bags with these medications. It's wild. And I'm like you. I've certainly worked hard to be 55 this year and not be on any blood pressure medications or anything for diabetes and people are like, oh, it's genetic. No, promise you, my mom and grandma weren't that great, at taking care of themselves. My grandma died of congestive heart failure. So no, that's not the case. So it's work. And knowing, and I still have things like you have with ITP. I still have had things that have come up that, despite all my best efforts to try to maintain good health, have come up, like having venous insufficiency and having to get these leg procedures done on my veins, because of that was a family hereditary thing.
Yeah.
But luckily I got it corrected early and it was simple and my legs feel great now. So I'm so happy. And I wasn't like put on Lyrica or something. I advocated because I knew I had a family history of varicose veins and everything. And so I actually said to my doctor, I need to go see this center for veins and let me go get a look at my legs, because I could actually see one of the veins. And boy, it burnt and hurt my knee. That's how I ended up with the Voltaren. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's look at the next question. I think we've only got a couple more and we're almost done. All right. This is a big one. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh, why don't you read this one out for me, Cheekbones? Because I need a little sip of water.
Sure. My A1C was 12.5 the day I had a heart attack. I ignored every symptom I had. I had no clue I was diabetic. I had to have triple bypass surgery at the age of 43. I learned the hard way not to ever ignore your symptoms or your diagnosed diabetes. You will pay for it. It catches up to you and then it's too late. And no truer words have ever been spoken.
Thank you. Thank you for reading that. Thank you. So just was some of the things that we spoke about. And I think, what was Chantel's A1C?
Well,
the one that she supposedly confessed to.
Well, she, and my experience with A1C is the 3-month testing that's separate than converting the, your glucose levels to the, but I think she said at the onset of this, it was like, when it was like 23 when it started.
13.3 was the A1C. Was that the A1C?
That was supposedly the A1C.
That was the A1C?
Well,
that's higher than this person's A1C was.
I think when she started this thing, she said she doesn't feel bad until it's 22 or 23. which I think is around 400 glucose level, if I'm
Right.
not mistaken.
Yeah, it's multiplied by 18 if you want to do it simply, is
Okay.
what I understand. It's like
Yeah.
18.0182 is the formula.
Yeah. So after the pizza, right after she ate the pizza, it was 13 point, or that's what we think the glucometer said, but it's all
Right.
busted up. So she's guess going with 13.3.
Right.
And you know, she just thought that was, no, that's okay. It's 13.3.
Right.
But
I'm just curious, because when was it she last had an A1? She did have an A1C done at some point. And I don't remember what she said it was. She doesn't talk about the A1C because she certainly needs a new one.
yeah,
And I'm
I was just
sure it's
thinking,
gone up from the last one.
I
don't think the unicity's done anything.
No, I don't think that's done it. I want to say that when it all started, the diabetes arc, that she said something about it being 23.
Was that her A1C?
I think so.
Are you serious? Can they go that
Yeah.
high?
Do you remember, Joanna? I think it was. I think she said 23. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And this person was a 12.5 on the day of a heart attack. And she could potentially have an A1C of 23. That is wild in my mind. That is just, she has got to feel like garbage.
Yeah.
That's why she's not cooking. That's why her meals, she's like, she's just going to keep lying to her Beezers about all these things that she's going to go off and do. The cooking, the this, the that. It's just going to be gaslight and lies, unfortunately, because she cannot feel well.
No, I don't think she has felt well since probably either before BB or right when she got with BB. So, and she was, I think, around in the 200s then.
I'm just curious how her next visa run is going to go, because I am becoming very concerned about her increased risk to DVT in the planes. I really am.
I really don't think she'll fly. I think they'll drive to Saudi. They'll drive somewhere. She's not gonna. Besides the money, I think she's scared, and she should be.
I would be petrified. I'd be petrified.
Yeah.
I'd be petrified. Honestly, I wrote a whole paper. I think I said this last time. I wrote a whole paper about DVTs and long haul flying.
Yeah.
Like a whole grad paper on it. I think I got 100% on the paper. So I just remember reading that, the risk and the fact that she's so many risk factors. I don't think those compressions are going to work. Yeah, you were saying?
Well, Katz had put in the thing. She thought 23 was the glucose. If her glucose was 23, she'd be dead. The 23 is that conversion that Ray was talking about.
Yes, like times 18. Oh.
The glucose level to like an A1C equivalent.
Right. Okay. I was about to say 23 is an A1C. It just seems very hard.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. I can't.
That's probably one of the highest that I've seen, and I've seen some bad ones. Will she ever reach base camp?
Right. And you have to remember, Sonia's saying she's seen some bad ones, and you're in which state? And I don't want to talk about the diabetes belt and the heart attack belt, but you're in the South.
Yes.
And we see some. I've been in South Carolina and Charlotte, North Carolina working. So I've seen some tragically high.
This was in Mississippi.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, if Chantel is scaring somebody who works with patients in Mississippi, this is bad.
Yeah. It's, I'll tell you what, you see some stuff. And, most of the areas that I've worked in, other than in the Memphis area, I lived in Mississippi, but I worked in Memphis. it's just rural. I mean, I've done
Right.
nutrition education down in the Mississippi Delta.
Right.
And so, it's the things I did nutritional counseling for a 2-year-old that weighed 90 pounds.
God. Oh,
She lived with her great grandparents. They were raising her. And so
that's more than Eugenia Cooney weighs, probably.
yeah. And
God. Just to
trying
give
to
you an idea.
Yeah, I was,
Oh,
telling them about measuring out the foods, and I said, well, just get your measuring cup and measure out like a half a cup. They didn't know what a measuring cup was.
oh my gosh.
So, they were very elderly.
Right.
And they were just simple country folk, and I'm sure she never used. My mama didn't use a measuring cup, so
Right.
but yeah, I mean, the things that I have seen, it's really, and I just thought, what chance would this child going to have?
Right.
Because I think it was her great grandparents. I think they were in their mid to late 80s, and they were raising her.
Wow. And the food, I think that some of the older people too, what we don't remember is that they didn't grow up eating all this ultra processed food. Their food was going to be more of a whole food diet.
Yeah,
Even if it was farm raised it was more, whole foods.
yeah,
Whereas now, a lot of our children, that's, for convenience sake. And, I think a lot of people have been convinced, because I learned this working in, the rural areas that, I worked up in the mountains in North Carolina and stuff. So I have,
hmm
oh gosh, there's
yeah,
such, misunderstanding about what nutrition, and people literally laughing at you because you're eating vegetables and a salad while they're literally killing themselves with a pizza. And you're like, how are you the one laughing at me?
yeah.
Why are
Mhm.
you thinking that I'm the crazy tree hippie? Whatever I used to get called. I had to seriously, I was, and these people that laughed at me back, 30, 40 years ago. Yeah, well, you're all on blood pressure medications, and I'm not. And I
Yeah,
can promise you that unfortunately there are studies that do show through evidence that if you are able to maintain, not to make people scared in the chat, but for younger people in the audience, if you are able, you've been privileged and born pretty healthy and you maintain good health, and diet plays such an important part. If you want those
absolutely,
six-pack abs and all those things that you guys really want to have, the diet is what makes the difference at the end of the day. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. All right, let's look at our last question so we can wrap it up here, because we're right at 3 hours. I need to let you get to your family, Miss Sonya. All right, I think it's my last question. Yes, I think that was it. I think that was it. Let me just make sure. I'm going to run through the questions real quick. Make sure we got everyone. I think we hit everybody. I think we done. I think we did. All right, I think that was it. Was that all my questions?
I think so.
I think so. Like that. I think, was that it? The A1C, we did that, and we talked about, we did. Okay, that was it. Okay. All right, let me take that off the stage. Well, thank you so much. We just hit 3 hours. Bloody hippies. Yeah, bloody hippies. I know. I used to be just called a tree hugger because I didn't eat meat and stuff, I've always kept away. But I promise you, I have excellent blood pressure, and they're lowering every year the standards for blood pressures. Like, I think now, if you're over 120 over 80, you're considered pre-hypertensive.
Yeah,
And people used to be like sitting at like 154 over 92, like, my blood pressure great.
yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
even medicated. And you're like, no, not really.
Well, you have a really good community. I mean, there's healthcare professionals here. These people your members have had such life experiences with their health and ask excellent questions. And I mean, they're just really good. You're very lucky. So
thank you.
round of
Thank you
applause
so
for
much.
the chat. Round of applause for
Well,
the chat.
thank you. No, I think this is an excellent community. I have been reading through the chat. Cheekbones and I have been reading. So don't think we have not been appreciating all the chat. We've just obviously been chit-chatting like we do on these panels. And it went really smooth. My new Wi-Fi setup that I got looks like it worked pretty good. So I'm very pleased. It was not raining like it was that one night too. I think I had terrible weather as well. But thank you so much for your time. And
no problem. Great being here.
And I would certainly, we're going to have you back. So I know you get busy, but I definitely want to continue the conversation around the supplements and stuff. And maybe, I'll find a creator who's, pushing for any of that stuff. Because I always, there was very interesting, constantly these teas and diet teas and, basically very expensive laxatives.
Yeah.
That people purchase. And I think it's important for younger people to hear that people like yourself and I, even though we've worked to, always maintain good health, we have followed up with our providers. We have advocated for ourselves. And we have and because of it, we have discovered that we do have health things that have had to be corrected. Because I found out I had very low vitamin D. I mean, to the point where I was like, had nothing and did not realize how low I was. And just surprised I was not getting sick because it was through the pandemic. And so I'm very surprised.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, Val is talking about socioeconomics and, and absolutely. I mean, if you want to talk about doing diet education with low income, I'm your gal. I mean, that's the majority of what I've done because I live in the South and have done it in the rural South. So yeah, and there are ways you can eat healthier on a limited income. Absolutely. So yeah, and I agree with them. Yeah, absolutely. There's no shame because you're not eating a filet mignon and grilled asparagus.
Oh, absolutely not. No. And I think that's not about trying to shame people, because I think that is a concern, because I've certainly seen it in the areas where I've worked in North Carolina, sort of limited access to, fresher foods. But I think there are ways that we can discuss around doing, like, even I used to always remind my patients with the canned or tinned vegetables, just make sure you rinse everything off before you use it in your dishes. Don't boil them in the canned water, So I think that we do definitely want to make sure that we have conversations around how we can get people to healthy options, because fast food places are not the least expensive choices for
not
people.
now.
Right. And they're not the least expensive in the long run either, if you want to think about your health. And it doesn't have to be, I certainly, I think people always think you have to, go to this organic almond mom, from one extreme to the next. And I think that's the problem, because that's what's pushed on in the media.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be done within your, I was a single mother at one time, and, you talk about, I ate ramen noodles for lunch every day for a year so I could afford childcare, so I could work. So, yeah, I mean, I've been there. I know how it is. So yeah,
I've had times where I've literally nothing, and I promise you, I've had to. I've been fortunate that I've been in an area where there are food options, but I've certainly been the person who's been looking where the reduced food items are, and getting really healthy choices. Like, I promise you, you know, if you're not, you know, I'm not very fussy. I'll eat all sorts of stuff, but you know, especially with fruits and vegetables and stuff. And I know Kroger especially knocks its stuff down, and you can get really like a ton of stuff in their 99-cent section that they have. And I've come home with bags and bags and bags of vegetables and stuff for $13-14 that I could make meals. And then you can get grains very inexpensively. And I think and make like Buddha bowls and, you know, those like type of bowl dishes. I think we could talk about things like that that are very inexpensive, very healthy, and very portable to take to work. So you don't catch yourself having to make a decision to order something from a fast food place at lunch. Because I think that's where people get the most in trouble.
Yeah. And TKO was talking about, I was raised, we gardened, my thumbs were purple every summer for a decade, freezing and canning. And, you know, I grew up with it, but then I remember as I got older, my mother saying, "Oh, it's, you know, it's just as cheap to buy them in the grocery store, like the frozen vegetables or whatever." But now that's kind of flipped. It's not cheaper in the grocery store. And we just built a house, and I got land all around me. I'm thinking, "Ooh, I'm fixing to put me in a garden." I also have about 400 deer in my backyard that'll gobble it down to the stub. So I'm gonna try to do some. What's those planter gardens in the fence, so they don't eat all of it. But that, you know, some people can do it, some people can. You live in the city, you can't do it. But yeah, I think that's kind of swinging back the other way. More people are getting back into that, right? Canning and freezing.
Right. And being here in the South, I think, you know, I certainly remember when people would in the summertime just bringing, you know, tomatoes, cucumbers, squashes. I mean, just so much, you know, garden produce that comes out that people are very, you know, good with gardening. And unfortunately, I tried to grow some stuff in some pots here, and it became a tug of war between me and an opossum.
Yeah.
And the opossum won. And the opossum won.
Well, I know how to cook possum if anybody needs to know. I do that. I'm country. And you use the rendered fat and you weatherize your boots with it. So my people are country.
As long as it's not barbecue, because, you know, being by North Carolina, they love that sweet, tangy barbecue. Goodness me, my God.
Now, got to bake it with some brown sugar and sweet potatoes.
Oh my goodness, I do love a sweet potato. My grandma had a thing for okra because, you know, so, you know. But anyway, oh my goodness. Well, that would be a really good, maybe that could be something that because since Chantel supposedly has subsidized food, I think that maybe that would be something, you know what? I'll put a post in you know, obviously it might take us a couple of weeks to get together again. I'll put a post into my community asking for questions around maybe doing what type of meals or options around, you know, healthy options for lower cost, something of that nature.
Yeah.
And we can kind of branch off of something that Chantel's doing that's not probably very sensible with her food, if she's still with us.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Anyway, let me tell the poll, and then we'll finish out. I haven't said my poll. Hold on. Okay, so, all right. I'm ending the poll. And the poll said, where's my poll? Where's my poll? Hold on. Let me get to where's my poll? All right, I ended the poll. Hold on. Let me find my poll. It's probably at the top of my page. Hold on. Let me try to get to my poll. Hold on. Where did my poll go? It was anyway. Here it is. Okay. So it said, how many nougats will Foodie Beauty eat? First is okay. So the three choices were 1, just 1 or 2, diabetes type 2. The second was a few, but share the others. And then third choice was the entire bloody plate alone. And that one with 91% out of 389 votes. 91% of those 389 think that she's going to eat the entire plate of those pistachio nougat things.
And,
so
and
how many should a type 2 diabetic eat of those nuggets?
I have no idea. I would probably suspect one of those would count at least as 2 carbohydrates. So like 30 grams. And I'm just guessing because for the nougat being so high in sugar.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. It's just sugar.
Yeah. But I mean,
covered with fatty pistachio nuts.
Yeah. So, the pistachios would be the healthiest thing in that, but, yeah, but she'll eat them all because we know she don't have gas. That's where all those other things went in the white box. So she ate every one of those. She'll eat every one of these.
Oh my God. I'm just so horrified for her pancreas because I'm just thinking, I mean, how has she not reached full insulin resistance by now?
I don't know, but as I said, she's to me looking very bad. I see some type of cognitive something going on, and she's not. What does she say she is now? 350 pounds. She's not 350 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
So she's just going to gain more. The sugars are going to get higher. All the fallout from everything else, all the sodium, her blood pressure is going higher. She ain't doing her livers no favor. Her kidneys, she's torturing them. So,
Right. And I think she is having some type of cognitive change or decline because I can tell even her live streams recently, even the ones when she first went down with her sciatica, she was like much faster at talking, much more energetic, much more able to keep up with the chat and the conversation. And now she's just very, very lethargic, I feel.
Yeah. People were saying is she intoxicated? Oh, I think she's high, and that could be mood swings. But I just noticed her reaching for words or, not getting the thoughts out.
Right.
And I just have noticed it probably over the last 2 to 3 weeks. So
right, she's not as mentally sharp. Like when she was doing the reaction with Yo Mama, she had nothing really as a comeback. So it was usually she was like a little, maybe she didn't have the greatest amount of eloquence or choice of words, but she was sharp and could fire, her conversation out. And I just don't see her with that at this moment.
Now, if you go back, and watch her old videos from when she was in the villa, it's like a totally different person. I don't, it's just the mental. And I mean, she was smoking weed like a reggae band back then. So,
right.
She was doing all kinds of drugs, allegedly conspiracy, whatever. And, but was still sharper. Yeah. Right. She's aged at least 10 years. You're right. Sunshine Country Chickens. Absolutely. At least 10 years.
Right. Her mental acuity is getting up there with probably some of our presidential candidates and presidents and so forth, and anybody in the American political system. Because you got to be at least a good 80 to hold any power of politics in this country. And Chantel's mentally about 80. But yeah, her acuity, her mental acuity is not there. Like she is not like I said, she is not sharp. Her live streams are getting shorter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she has all she does is rehash the old stories or tells a new lie in an old story and depends on the chat to drive her videos or her lives. It's nothing but just talking to her chat. And I don't see what they get out of that, but I mean, it's just getting painful to watch. And
Right.
it could be, some form of, depression, maybe because she's not going out. I don't think at all.
Right.
And I think there's a number of reasons why she's not going out. And so that may be the isolation, may be part of it. I don't know. But I just think it has something to do with her cognition.
Right. And unfortunately, when people do start to become the size of Chantel, there is a very high chance you are going to become more isolated.
Yeah.
And she's lucky she even has the community of Beezers that she has to chat with and
Well,
have that sense of community, because otherwise who would she have? Salal's not really there for her. I mean, we all know that. Poor girl.
well, those Beezers are going to be your downfall. And, I can't imagine killing myself just to have an audience that will agree with anything I say.
Right. And yeah, a bunch of sycophants saying, yeah, you glow, girl. You're like a glam queen. Oh, you look beautiful today. You're like,
yeah. What are you going to eat? Let's eat this. Let's eat that. What's your favorite food?
right.
If somebody truly cares about you, they're going to tell you the truth. It's not usually what you want to hear. But she used to, I don't know if you're familiar with her back when she was in the villa. I mean, her chat was funny. She had engaging people, funny trolls. She didn't block them. And if she did, she'd unblock them the next day and stuff. But she's driven all those people away. And now it's just these people. I don't know how low you have to get to lose support because my gosh.
Right.
I can't imagine supporting an animal abuser, period, full stop. But
oh yeah, and I wouldn't be wanting to. Well, that's always like yeah. First, yeah. Why would you support somebody who's so awful to animals? Maybe because they don't care about animals themselves. So that just says, sadly about the audience. But yeah, even Blue Pot left the chat the other day because she said something to Blue Pot.
Well, if Salad, he did come in there like ball busters and block the best trolls and drove off, ones that had been there. He basically was just destroying what she had left of her channel. So, what are you going to do? I mean, I don't know. But these people that she thinks are her friends, and if you'll listen to her now to her chat, oh, really, Mary, you're sick. I'll pray for you. Go back and watch them Villa things. Right. She was just slashing, cutting them people to the white meat. She didn't hold back. She was mean, vile, and she just so abused them that a lot of them left.
I just can't imagine being that type of individual, or even wanting to be participating in a chat where somebody was like that towards me. It's such an antithesis to anything that I would be wanting to be part of.
I know.
It's not my speed or my jam.
No, I mean, it's all just crazy. I just don't understand, and I wish, she'd go back to Canada and get it all sorted out, but she's not going to.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I think anybody thinking that she's going to be returning anytime soon on her own volition like that is going to be sorely saddened.
Yeah.
Because she, for whatever reason, is, not got anything to go home to Canada for. And I don't know. It is a very odd situation. And I don't even think the only thing that would take her back to Canada is having a catastrophic event, and therefore Kuwait, as her being a tourist, it says to her, you have to return home.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
mean,
you
well,
can't
her
remain.
chat, Cozy J saying her chat always wants to get they have always wanted her to get takeaway. I mean, even in the villa, she had them that were like, "Where are we going to eat now? Let's eat pizza. Let's eat this." I mean,
Right.
it was
Right.
constant, and probably a lot of that. Those people back then were kind of trolling, but now, that's all she talks about.
Oh God,
I
yes,
had a
the
dream
food.
about food. I think about food. Food. I don't get it. I couldn't.
I mean, we
I
talk
couldn't.
about food, but I guess the difference is in our conversations around food, we talk about food in respect to how to best use it to maintain health. I think, but we're not so it's a little bit different, I think, than because we are having a specific conversation around health, where Chantel's just out there talking about Kit Kats.
Yeah, yeah. And like Catherine says, if she's got to be med-vaxxed back to Canada, that's what I said. That's selfish, because who's going to pay for that? Her
Right.
mother. And if
Is
she's
that
incapacitated and she's sending or depositing all her money into Salad's account, then how is she going to stop that? If that's her husband, he has legal right over what happens. And if
right?
she's
Would
not
that be when we
cognitive,
actually find out if they're legally married?
well, I personally don't think they are, for a number of reasons. Not in a legally recognized way. I'm not saying
Right.
they're not
That
religiously
he can make
married, but
medical decisions for her. Because
yeah, but
I don't know if a non-governmental marriage would give him rights to make medical decisions for her.
yeah, and that, you're getting in a whole nother can of worms. But how long till they could get it changed? Are they going to have to get an international lawyer? It's just all. I just think it's really, really selfish of her that her mom is going to be the one that has to do the financial cleanup to med back her back if something really bad happens.
Right, because I don't think it's a cost that's going to go on the Canadian taxpayer, I hope.
I would doubt it.
I would doubt that too, but I would think it would be like anybody who would be a tourist in another country. If you were a Canadian citizen or a citizen of another country visiting another country, that you have an idea and a plan if anything were to happen to you medically, what is your next step?
Yeah.
I
And
think
I don't know if they could reinstate, if they'll backdate. We'll back her, Canada will backdate her health insurance, and who knows all that. But can you imagine the headache nightmare to get all that situated? But
right, if she's so sick, she won't be having to worry about it. It's somebody else's headache because you're too unwell to then really be the person dealing with it. Somebody else has to hopefully deal with that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'll be, her mother. And then from what I understand, if she had to go to either a skilled or long-term care facility, from what I understand, the Canadians know a lot better than I do, but I think that's kind of hard to find.
Right.
And so then her mother will have to take care of her. I mean, she probably would get paid to take care of her, but can you imagine?
Well, I've also heard cases, and I don't know, and this is not to say anything, negative towards anybody in Canada. And I certainly do believe in choices in euthanasia for people, for certain things. But there are been some stories about heavily disabled people in Canada, very limited financial means, cost of living very expensive there, and trying to get onto that euthanasia.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to live in that dire situation any longer.
Yeah.
And that could be something potentially Chantel could face.
Yeah. But, is she going to have the cognition to make that choice? Because, she doesn't have any advanced directives. And I'll tell you right now, if she has some type of a stroke or, brain bleed damage, whatever, and she's not cognitive, they will bring her home and they'll put a feeding tube in her. I
Oh,
guarantee it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
I
And
promise you, I have an advance directive. And like any good healthcare professional, it says I do not want any life-saving measures. Just let me
yeah,
go.
absolutely. And because her family being such enablers and
Oh,
handling her
yeah.
kid gloves, they would never say, her quality life is going to be awful. And so,
Oh,
let's not do that. And I'm sure
right.
she's never expressed any advance directives. So,
Oh, absolutely not. Oh, and she's too narcissistic to pick, do not resuscitate on. She would not be a DNR.
no,
And she absolutely not.
yeah,
She would be full code to the last minute.
okay, absolutely. And even if she said no, I don't want it, I honestly think Shmi would do it anyway. If it's not, and you see it all the time. Don't matter what your
Oh,
advance directives are, your family will change it when you're, at death's door. They'll change it.
right. Oh, I
So
know. I've seen it all the time. I'm like, really? Seriously? Now you're not even respecting your family's wishes? They don't want to go through this. God,
yeah,
I'm just like, sometimes I'm just like, but that's why, that's why I have an advance directive. And the person that's carrying out my power of attorney is an attorney. So I wouldn't
yeah.
let my family touch any of it.
Oh, I put it in the will. If my kids overturn mine, they're cut out. So
Ah, good
they
for
won't,
you.
and they probably wouldn't anyway.
Right. Right. And see, this is very interesting. And I think, we'll wrap it up here because we're getting further into this conversation because we could go on forever. But it's funny because this you'll find from healthcare providers that we're very much like this. Like, nope, we don't want we're the ones that do all these measures on people that are full code by choice. And we
Yes,
choose not to be that because
yes.
we know there really isn't much to come back from once you hit that.
Absolutely not.
There's very few cases, and they show those on the Today Show.
Yeah, yeah. It's terrible. I mean, I would recommend everybody get that in line and get it in writing.
Oh, absolutely.
And make your wishes known. So
Oh, yeah. My advance directive is on the National Registry.
Yeah.
I had that filed with the healthcare system, and then they upload that. So no matter, I think, where I am in the country, my advance directive is there.
Yeah.
And even if I did have family or kids or something, I don't think I would change even what my choice of my advance directive was. Because I know it's for the good of everybody at the end of the day. Not that anyway. All right, well, let's just finish it out here. Thank you so much, Miss Cheekbones, Miss Sonya, for such a great chat.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you for everybody. If you haven't hit the likes yet, make sure you hit the likes before you leave. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Miss Sonya, so much. I think we just had an excellent. I just love getting this opportunity to chat health and Chantel and diabetes and all of these good things. I think we just had an excellent conversation. And I am definitely going to post this question about the questions about, what to do for lowering costs for healthy options. And I'd love to do a conversation, and we'll show how Chantel just shuts that, how she messes it up.
Okay. And thanks, chat. Y'all been great. Great questions.
Yes, thank you, of course, to my wonderful chat. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. I'm sure, and I apologies that if I don't flash up the chat, like I said, as much as I do when I am going personally on my live stream. And that's just really to respect that Miss Sonya's time is here with us today. But I know everyone was having a lot of fun in the chat. So thank you guys so much for just being respectful to one another. Yes. Anything you wanted to finish out with before I take you off the stage and bring up my theme music?
No, y'all be good and get those base labs done.
Yes, get your labs and request the A1C if you can.
Yes, absolutely.
And get outside and get your steps, everybody.
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll see you on the next one. I'm taking you off stage, Miss Cheekbones. Thank you
All
so
right.
much again.
Y'all have a good
Bye-bye. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was excellent. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to bring up my theme music. I appreciate all of you for being here. We were here for quite some time. We were just having such a great conversation. I appreciate you all being here. Look out for the next live, and we will see you then. I appreciate it. I'm going to try to bring my brand music up. Here it is. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.